What is going on? Hello, YouTube. Welcome to the Legion of Comics. Just to go ahead and throw this out there for anyone who might hit this video in public, there will be adult words said in this. We're not going to be restricting our language in this one. I don't feel like I'm going to have the ability to. So, anyone that's hearing this, this is a fair warning. There are spoilers in this, obviously. And also, there's a little icon up there over Tyler to remind any of the hearing impaired that this has bad words in it. Just wanted to put that out there. A lot of these videos get played inside of my LCS, so I wanted to make sure that the shop owner has ample time to catch it. I try to be respectful of that. I don't want there to be people in the store shopping, then all of a sudden their experience goes south. That's not what I'm aiming to do here.
This is spoilers too. You have spoilers in the title.
No, it says full review, so you can't do a full review without spoilers. Martian Manhunter is in the movie. Just boom, there you go. We just scared off anyone who hasn't seen it. Scared them off.
Atlas made an appearance at the end too.
Yeah, well, I called Ryan immediately after I got halfway through the credits, and I'm like just kind of overwhelmed, especially with what Zach put up on the screen right when it went black. When he put For Autumn, I broke down, man. These kids done made me soft, and just seeing how far we've come from the initial release of this movie, the news of the tragedy he went through, the countless hours online arguing with people, trying to explain what the Donner Cut was to people and how this could happen, just being on the defensive for years for DC, and then making it to the end, and then just seeing that little dedication there is just like, Jesus Christ, this is too much.
Yeah, I was just saying to Lee, it was the first time I cried in a movie since 2008, and this I cried more. At that, exactly what you just said. I felt it in my stomach a few times during the movie. So the movie had me emotional, and then that hit, and I couldn't fucking believe it, man. That was so sad.
You have no idea. Chip. Chip does have an idea. Chip, message me on Instagram if you want to hop on and talk this with us, man. If you're up, if you're not busy, or I know you watched it. I want to shoot you the link. Go ahead and just shoot it to you. If you can hop on, if you want to hop on, feel free to hop on.
No, get off, Bert. If you didn't watch it, get off.
Apparently, I'm just spoiling everything. So
no, we're gonna be spoiling everything here.
So Steve needs to stay away. If he thought I spoiled it, just wait.
Yeah,
you're just
we're about to talk about some dirt.
My chest is still tight from the experience. Let's just go real quick. Initial
tension, bro.
Yeah, I feel it. My blood pressure's through the roof. But let's just go around just like your initial take on this. Tyler, what was just when it finished, what was your initial take on it?
At the end?
Yeah, just your overall.
I mean, it's one of the best movies I've seen. That's really how I felt. It just was that good. It was such a linear plot. I'm just gonna say it quick, just a linear scene to scene. The characters were done so well. They gave him so much backstory, so much emotion. It was everything I'd want in a movie.
Lee, what do you think?
It was amazing. I literally only have one complaint, and it's pretty minor, and it didn't hurt my overall experience of the movie. Is the aspect ratio. Wasn't a big fan of the big black bars across the side. But apart from that, the movie was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I felt the same way with the aspect ratio. It kind of just goes away real quick because I know why he did it, because it's shot in IMAX. So if they were going to widescreen it, you might not have the black bars on the side, but you'd have less film. So it was literally shot for that shape film for screen for IMAX. So not being able to experience it in theaters, whatever, is a bummer, but yeah, I'm glad that we were able to see every bit of it. Really.
I was saying to Tyler, he watched it on his phone, and I was like, I feel so sorry for him watching it on his phone. I was watching on my TV, and all I was thinking is, my TV is not big enough.
I watched it on a what is our TV, 61 inches, something like that.
Mine's a 55-inch curved.
Yeah.
I usually watch 55. Is what I.
Yeah, we watched it on a big 4K TV, and the experience.
It wasn't as smooth as WandaVision. The way they pulled off the black bars, I think because they kind of faded in on you.
Yeah,
it felt more immersive than this. Just starting.
Yeah, honestly, I was waiting the beginning, because the beginning was straight off the bat from Batman v Superman was like such a heavy opening, and like I just thought maybe the aspect ratio would be just for that part, so I like skimmed my mouse down for like the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I was like, no, it's still like that. It's going to be like that first movie. Get over it. Still enjoy the movie. Don't get hung up on that.
Yeah,
did y'all watch the DC fandom when they did the fandom event? Like during Zack Snyder's big portion in that, when they first released the first trailer for this and everything, he spoke about like the 4:3 aspect ratio and how that's just the IMAX format. And like for example, if we went to see it in IMAX, this is what you would see it in. But then when you bring the movie home digitally or in disc, it's formatted for widescreen. So possibly, if they decide to do anything, any way to sell this movie later in widescreen, possibly that'll be available like that. I'm assuming it's not hard to.
I wouldn't be surprised if they re-release this in a couple months as like a widescreen format. Just
I'll never watch
have it on HBO as the wide standard format.
Yeah, I'll never watch
that. I think they need to just leave it as it is. You know, it was the choice he made. Like it was.
They probably will. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't fucking care.
I don't care. We live in now. That's the downside. That's the downside to the streaming services is they control the content on the back end, so they can always update and change movies. That's the problem with Disney having Star Wars. It's whatever version of Star Wars they want you to see, you know. Versus if you buy it on a disc, and even Blu-rays, they can update the video that's on the Blu-ray if you have a Blu-ray player that's connected to the web. So, you know, at this point, the content creators have control over what version you get to watch.
Real quick, this is quick for me. The Snyder Cut versus the Whedon Cut. The Whedon Cut isn't even on the scale, and the Snyder Cut's a 10, hands down.
I've never held a Blu-ray disc like this in my whole life.
Because it's just not needed. It's not needed anymore.
I'm making a whack comics video with this today. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's gonna happen. I wasn't planning on it until I watched the movie. I said, I don't fucking need this.
Mark, honestly, I didn't like your rating. I would give the Snyder Cut 100 out of 10.
So we went through.
I just want to point out real quick. This is Lee, who's honestly. He's objectively critical about Snyder stuff. He's not a diehard Snyder fanboy. He's not a diehard DC fanboy, and he's giving it a strong rating. But
yeah, that's pretty cool. Ryan, what were your initial thoughts then?
For me, my biggest criticism of this whole thing is always going to be runtime, and there's a lot of extraneous information in this movie for the sake of long runtime. So. That kind of hurts it a bit. Overall, though, way better than what we got out of Whedon. Like, the movie that hit the theaters was absolutely garbage compared to this in every way, except for runtime. And
I wouldn't take out one scene in the movie.
My wife's about to crawl through this computer and strangle you.
I think when it ended, I said it was the fastest 4 hours I've ever went through in my life. And I was so disappointed it ended. I told Lee if I was watching Netflix and it said, "Are you still awake?" I would have hit continue and waited 4 more hours for it to pop up again.
Yes,
because I wish it would have been an 8 hour.
I told Ryan. I told him I'm in the epilogue. He's like, "You got 20 more minutes." I said, "Shit, I wish I had 4 more hours."
Yep, that's exactly what I said to Lee. Like before we hopped on with you guys.
I was saying, so I feel like I've watched a 2-hour movie that was longer than that. You know, like the Justice League the theatrical version felt longer than that.
And let me down. I wish I could see this in IMAX. I don't know how Phantom could have let you down. It's just a information event where they pumped all kinds of great information out. It was really cool.
Yeah, for me,
me too, Louis.
What we got in this, honestly, I would have liked it a lot better if they had just expanded it out and made it a 6 episode mini and gave us more on each of those characters. But the 4-hour format is not going to stick around. That is not going to be a thing.
Never intended on being a thing.
Everybody loves it coming out of it, but it's not going to have a high rewatchability.
Well, I just want to point this out. I've watched the ultimate cut of Watchmen more times than I can honestly put a number to.
The ultimate cut.
That's great for you.
I don't like the ultimate cut because of the pirate thing. That was.
I enjoy the Tales of the Black Freighter being in there. I mean, it kind of throws you off a little bit being animated and not being real life, but I mean, it was
Because Zack Snyder never intended it to be in there. He even said that. It's like, this is kind of like a zombie version. It was never intended to be. So the director's cut was his vision, and the ultimate cut is just like a little bit more for fans. It's still good. I mean, and I don't like the Black Friday that much as I like Watchmen. That's a whole nother thing. Who fucking cares? Let's talk about Justice League.
Yeah, there's new streaming services that popped up all over the world, and Zack Snyder announced about 4 or 5 days ago now that this movie will not be limited to the United States; that it will be available for everyone everywhere. And he announced this at the last minute. So what I saw happen was all these begrudged fans that are like, "Oh, hit this, blah blah blah, da da da." Snyder this.
I was getting ready to
said,
put on my pirate hat. I was getting ready to put on my pirate hat, and then Binge came out like 3 days ago and was like, "We got you back, Australia."
And it was fun because I watch a lot of conversations on other platforms and stuff, and people who are like grudgingly saying, "Oh, I'll watch it when it gets here. It's just da 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 da." They're like, "Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to watch it." Like, it just changed their excitement level, and I kind of saw like this little reaction to having it available to them. Like, their opinion was based off it not being available to them to a certain degree, or their mood about it at least. But then him just handing it to everyone on a silver platter, just for people to be able to do that, because there's a lot of stuff that's still restricted, but it would just change people's moods. So I thought that was really cool.
But yeah, binge.com.au for any Australians out there. You get a 14-day free trial, but I'm probably gonna. I was thinking about just cutting it off after the 14-day free trial, but I might have to stick around for another month so I can watch it.
Movies can definitely fail on different levels. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy them.
Yeah. So how awful was Ezra Miller? Good Lord.
I thought he was a lot better than he did. Dude, look, when I was waiting on it too, because I was wondering how much Snyder would change with him, and then that first scene when you see him, I literally went, "Oh man," because he was still that little quirky, this, that, and the other. But then as you kind of goes, like, I'm like, dude, it's actually fitting in here. And what got me with it fit was when Cyborg said something to him when they were putting their actual plan together, and he responded quirkily, and he just goes, "Barry." Like he can act how he wants, but it's not going to affect the people around him. They're still who they're going to be. And he just kind of like, okay, and gives them a straight answer. So you could kind of see him like tightening up as the movie went, like clear tightening up. And then when you get, man, I don't want to get to the end yet. I'm just so scatterbrained right now.
I thought Ezra Miller did a great job as Barry.
I loved him.
I think he did a great job as Snyder's version of Barry. I think he nailed it.
Yeah, I don't really care. Well, it's kind of like the new Power Rangers movie. It's like, I love Power Rangers, and I fucking love that movie, and it's not Power Rangers. I fucking love it.
There's my dude in the comments right there. You did great in the movie.
I was like, once you accept like Taco Bell is not food, it's pretty good for what it is. Not food.
I eat Taco Bell 3 times a week. I love it.
But yeah, I just like you said, Mark, it's his Barry. It's just, I don't really give a shit about the character he developed in this movie that I enjoyed was perfect for what it was. That's my opinion. It was perfect for what it was. I'm not comparing it to anything else. It was perfect in this movie.
I reckon.
Yeah, I just don't like that Barry. I don't like that.
Yeah. But if you don't like the Barry, then that's.
Yeah,
I reckon Aquaman was more cringe than Barry with his hell yeah and shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I also had a hard time looking at him with his eyebrows and the like weirdo pupils from the contacts. Like, I don't know, it was weird to look at a lot of times.
No, he was still really good though.
I loved it, Freaky. Not liked it. Loved it.
I thought Cyborg looked better, but I don't know. There's still there's some rough CGI work in there.
Yeah,
for a movie that's like so high, like big deal, like I was unimpressed by some of the CGI that I assume they just didn't invest the money in fixing for just the Snyder Cut,
Yeah, I literally didn't care. But yeah, I agree. I was just like, I don't give a fuck. This is so.
Yeah, he spent his extra money wisely. Like, if you couldn't go back and fine tune some CGI that's 6-7 years old now, you couldn't tighten that up because you want to spend the money elsewhere. Like, he made the right decision. And and just as a perfect point is look at Steppenwolf suit. Look at Steppenwolf suit.
So badass.
It was cool how he even like used it too. I thought, I like that.
Yeah, when he like breaks the arrows and stuff.
Beef up a little bit and everything.
Like, did he take the armor off whenever Darkseid shows up?
When Darkseid showed up, you know, it's just like Cyborg, how it's like it's apocalyptic technology. So that's how they got into that. And it makes more sense to just put him in clothes, people clothes. But when Darkseid showed up as reverence to Darkseid, he kneeled and became, you know, he just like went total submissive, you know.
It was just like all his armor disappears.
Yeah, just, you see it kind of like chainmail chinking down just as a sign of submissiveness. You know, I thought that was really cool. He didn't do it for Desaad. The Darkseid shows up. And how cool was the concept of introducing the anti-life equation being on Earth, hence why Darkseid's not going to stop.
So fucking awesome. When they said that, I shat.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool lore. It's well developed. It's well built. He really thought about the ins and outs of, you know, how this whole thing needs to weave together.
Ryan, I got to ask you, because when it comes to your fandom with comics, movies, anything, you approach it from a very unique perspective that I really love hearing your opinion, because you focus on storytelling. You talk about this big on all your platforms and why you interview people the way you do and how you come at content. You do it from a storytelling perspective because that's what you really enjoy a lot. How do you feel Zack did with telling a story in this? Not
set me up for failure, huh?
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I think like he really he pulled it together, but this is the same thing with Batman versus Superman, right? Whenever you see the ultimate cut, like it'll all make sense because you'll have the full context. And that's only half right. You get the full context, but it doesn't always make any sense, you know? And this is one of those situations where I think for the most part, he did a better job than I expected him to, but there's still just too much here. And he, you know, you can always say I could tell the greatest story ever if I had an unlimited amount of time, but unlimited time is not available. And so this idea that he can make a 4-hour movie and put all of this in there is just absurd. Like, you can't market this.
No, stop. I don't care about anything with marketing. I don't care about anything with what could have been.
Asking the story.
But this movie by itself, outside of the context of needing it to be this or that,
we all hate
this movie. How do you feel this movie did telling the story? I know it's an absurd amount of time. I know it's not ever going to be a normal format. I 100% agree. But do you feel like he actually told a well-rounded story without any crazy loose ends or packing too much in it, or like, you know what I mean?
No, he definitely packed too much into it. No. But yeah, I mean, it's cohesive. You can tell what the story is. Definitely much better than what they did with the theatrical release, where you don't really know what's happening. There's no context for any scenes at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, there's a narrative here. You can follow this. You can keep up with it. He sticks the landing.
What's all right, real quick, if any, what's everyone's biggest grievance? Lee, you said it for you was just the aspect ratio was something to get used to and wasn't necessarily your jam. Tyler, do you have anything that you would
my literally only one thing is that the part one score was that that girl going oh, and then she would do it again, and it just was like, dude, this is really distracting.
Yeah. For me, it was the Atlanteans communicating underwater differently. And I know that this is a different original take that got adjusted when they made Aquaman. And, you know, Zack Snyder was consulted for Aquaman as well. So I'm surprised that he stuck with the original concept and didn't kind of modify it to them just being able to not communicate like fucking dolphins underwater.
That threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't like that she had to open an air pocket for them to communicate, because that just, and I'm like, man, you know what? I'm glad they corrected it, because that wouldn't have lasted. That wouldn't have had any longevity. You can't have to pop an air pocket every time someone needs to talk. And I like what they did with the concept of having the royal blood being able to multi-surface and the regular ones not being able to. So that was some cool improvements that they made on the Atlantean concept. But at the same time, it was awesome seeing how much more involved Atlanteans were in this and having Fulcor in there and everything. But that was my only grievance, was just the old take on the Atlantean stuff.
Besides the runtime, what would be yours, Ryan?
Format.
Yeah.
Like despite what you think, I think this was like a great thing, but it's too much and too little at the same time. I would actually rather have seen all 6 of these chapters as a 6-episode series, hour to hour and a half long chapters, and really fully develop everything, every aspect of it, all of it that he wants to do. Like, they could make the battle scenes bigger, they could spend more time with each character and developing every angle of those relationships. They could spend like a whole episode just exploring the 3 new characters, like how they relate to each other as the outsiders and stuff like that. Like this, like I said, it was just too much and too little. Either there was plenty of scenes they could have cut away and made a shorter movie and just done a movie, but honestly, I would have preferred to have more of this because it is so well developed. Like, he's clearly thinking about the whole world and universe as he's putting these pieces together. And in the end, I feel like he's a little constrained doing a 4-hour movie with all the ideas he has, but you can't go any longer than that. It needs to be a series.
I don't think he could have. They gave him the money for more. I think he probably would have liked to do more, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Like, of course, we all would have loved to see him go as far as he possibly could, but I think that's what this is. Like, knowing that this is as far as Justice League 1 could possibly go, and I think he probably threw more into this, like, situation-wise. Like, if his tragedy would not have happened, the movie wouldn't have been 4 hours still, because of the situation that we ended up in with HBO Max, with, of course, the tragedy, with the budget additions, with the extra budget edition, with sacrificing his own salary on it.
Wasn't this initially planned as a 2-part thing? This was supposed to be Justice League Part 1 and Part 2, right?
This was supposed to be Part 1.
This is just Part 1. This is not Justice League 1 and 2. This is just the complete maxed out version of Justice League 1.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if he didn't try to like pull a Richard Donner and shoot basically as much of Justice League's Part 1 and 2, and then that was going to be split. And once they were like, okay, well, you get the Snyder Cut. Well, I'm going to take everything that the half of Part 2 that I've already filmed is going in this movie also.
Not at all. Because I can guarantee you, and this is just me talking, but a Justice League 2 movie starts with an invasion. There's nothing you need before that happens because of how seamlessly this went into it. We'll do it the old way, get the Armada ready. And that's how it starts.
Mm-hmm.
And because you have to have the war happen. You have to have Darkseid win. You have to flush out the nightmare plot line where they actually go back, and then you have to have time in a corrected past and everything. So I think we literally got every piece of Justice League 1 that was ever intended as a possibility brought into the movie almost. I don't know. I can't see any of this being in a second film.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I can't believe I like it as much as I do. I never expected this.
Yeah. Like, I thought it was going to be good, but not like this fucking good on this level.
It was legitimate. Like, this is something that I guess I've seen more, but like, I'm one of those silver lining kind of guys. I'll look at something and I'm like, well, I enjoy it for that and the third. And when I watch a lot of other DC movies, I enjoy them. Even the original Justice League, I recognize it as being choppy, horrible, having all these flaws, but I enjoyed seeing the heroes on film at the very least. It's fun to watch in that aspect. But man, I don't even know where I was going with that. Yeah, I'm so scatterbrained right now.
Yeah, I agree. I liked the first one, but I also have never rewatched it. I saw it in theaters. Yeah. I watched it with my wife and her dad, and that's it.
Oh yeah, actually seeing this as the like how different this is. How Ryan, you pointed out that if Marvel does this good, if DC will go do what they don't do good, do something different. I feel like this is a perfect example of what maybe was being tried to, like, attempted to do. because they didn't film a cheesy assembly line superhero movie. And I've said this before, they film engaging dramas that are just settings in superhero worlds. Like this was an actual epic. Like when you look at certain movies that have been made, like you can classify them as epics. Like normally, like stuff like Troy or stuff like that are just epics. They got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's how this felt. Like they actually filmed an epic.
Oh yeah, well this feels more Lord of the Rings than Marvel.
That's what we were talking about right
we
before
just
you got
said it right before you got on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's what I was saying in my my revisit of Man of Steel. Is like you can tell from the very beginning, like he's got Russell Crowe and what's his name, Shannon in there.
Michael
like
Shannon is it?
Michael Shannon, yeah, like the beginning of Man of Steel on Krypton, like that is a Greek epic. Like that is the end of the Iliad as he's returning and Greece is falling around him and they're giving like these epic like Shakespearean speeches and stuff as the planet crumbles around them. Like he intended this whole thing to be an epic, you know. It's very like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, you know, like it works as a trilogy, as like a full piece, you know.
Mm-hmm. It was amazing.
I'm just disappointed we didn't get the Man of Steel epic trilogy that would have like really got into some cool stuff with Krypton, I think.
And as much as I like the idea of having like trilogies for each character and then having them crisscross over, I'm not against the idea of just making movies wherever they fit. Like if Batman was just the next chapter, Justice League is just the next chapter. I don't need standalones of each single character. Like it's still telling a story. I mean, you could call them whatever you want to call them, but I definitely think that they did good.
Yeah, but I mean that's where
I'd rather have like I don't want just generic format stuff necessarily, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's where Marvel's about to go though. Like you're gonna have a season of a show, you know, like Falcon and Winter Soldier that develops those characters, but the next movies are not gonna be like, you know, Captain America, whatever, you know. It's gonna basically be like your Avengers movies where everybody's there, you know. So
I thought they had like
each movie is going to be well, I mean they still have those, but as the shows develop, like over the next couple of years, you're going to see the movies are simply going to be like your big events, and your shows are going to develop your characters. And so, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what DC does. Are they going to continue on this path of like trying to create the whole universe in a movie and tell like this crazy just like event to event by itself, or are they going to get into TV through HBO Max and start to build something that develops the characters so they can drop these huge events like this? And you know, if there was a series that led up to this, then the Snyder Cut itself could be like 2 hours, you know. Once you take all the character development out, you got like a 2-hour movie, you know. So it'll be interesting to see how they try to play it from here.
Yeah, the product placement, Lee, it was you.
Yeah.
Product placement. And I just wanted
the Mercedes-Benz, good lord.
No, in Man of Steel, you get Sears, IHOP, and 7-Eleven back to back. But I also wanted to like the easy rebuttal to that is like, well, you know, if it was in reality, it isn't like you wouldn't see like if a fight breaks out in downtown, you know what I'm saying? Like Mellow Mushroom's going to be in sight. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like the Chevron.
I don't know. I think like the whole problem
Power
is how
Rangers with what was it, Dunkin' Donuts?
Oh yeah, that one's so funny.
I can agree that
it's awful.
Product placement is just
Krispy Kreme.
Such a cheesy thing to do.
Oh, Krispy Kreme.
I can't imagine what people think about when they're doing product placement.
Right.
It's just so low bar.
Lee doesn't have a Burger King. Lee has something else. What's yours called?
Hungry Jack's. I'm actually ordering it right now.
Hungry Jack's. That's because he got you to do it in his head. He got in your head.
It worked.
He held it up. See?
Hell, it's just like Burger King, the same color scheme and everything.
Yeah. It just says Hungry Jack's instead of Burger King. I was telling
we
Tyler.
We have a restaurant here called Checkers, but depending on where you're at, it's like when you buy like their stuff, their cups will say Checkers and Rallies. It'll have both logos on it, so they don't have to make cups for this place or that. I don't know why they just don't make one thing. It doesn't make any sense.
This must be Nick. He's going back to his coloring books.
I mean, same thing with like Carl's Jr. and Hardee's and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Snyder Cut.
They have like four different names.
So, Hungry Jack's. It's brought to you by Hungry Jack's, not Burger King.
Hungry Jack's. We're sorry. Burger King is a segue to our real sponsor, Hungry Jack's. Oh man, how about how delicate Barry was with his powers? Like when he first turned and just exploded out of his shoes and went running, and he just touches the glass and it moves like water for him. He just runs out, and then he hits the brakes in front of Iris in the gravel. The asphalt ripples like water under him, and then he's like really, really delicate with her, just because he knows that little touch can do so much.
That was so good. I really enjoyed that whole scene. Hey, like,
whenever he gets Wonder Woman's sword
in the pocket,
mm-hmm.
and taking it back in for the dogs. That was amazing.
Yeah, most of the other time he was running, though, I was not into it.
Dude, I was
really super slow-mo running.
As
what
it
about
kept
the
going,
last?
it kept getting better. Yes.
That last run was the best, man. I absolutely loved it. I reckon it was.
That was cool. Whenever he runs down the thing and gets Wonder Woman's sword, that's in this one, right?
Yeah.
And then whenever he saves Iris, those are like the three best scenes for his running. All the rest of the running should have been like fast running.
No,
I don't get into this.
I completely.
No.
The only reason
that runs in slower motion than the rest of the world he's in.
He's not running in slow motion. That's what I thought was cool about it. Like we've seen speedsters run like zip, 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 zip.
We've seen that too. Quicksilver did it.
That's what I'm saying. But how was this going to be different? It was just him. He's not running as much as just manipulating the speed force. It's a whole different concept that, like, when you get into the Flash, I'm not even talking about this movie, but the actual Flash, like the Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne, he's not even a speedster. He's moving through time in increments. Like it's a whole different you have to get into. And the way that they did it in this, I thought was just really cool because they showcase what it looks like for us to see him moving fast, especially when he saved the people in the harbor, when he's just flying around on top of them, just busting blocks, moving blocks. So I thought it was cool, like showcasing him inside of the Speed Force and seeing it from his perspective. I don't want my perspective. I'd rather see it from his. And they did that in spades at the end. Like he's just running, just arms out, throwing lightning. You just like, okay, I have to run faster than light. I have to break the rules. I'm like, oh my god!
When he's running to go, they just do the thing and he trips. I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And then he turns time backwards. Oh man, I was just every hair on my body was standing up.
Yes. Dude, when Darkseid showed up and they actually failed, split second when they failed, I'm like, oh yeah. God, where's this going?
Dude, I could not. I still can't. I can't wait to watch it again.
Dude, whenever they chop off Steppenwolf's head, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was sweet.
It was a group effort.
That's the thing. Like, I'm not really into like group stuff like that, especially like weirdo team ups. Like, why is Batman there? But I do like to see people like interact together in unique ways. Like one scene that really got me is whenever Diana ropes him and she's trying to pull him back down, and then whenever Arthur steps in and grabs her whip, like in that moment, I'm like, oh, that's so cool, I like those little moments, but like the whole team up thing doesn't really appeal to me all that much.
I think there's a time and a place for them for sure. Like anyone that watches my stuff enough, they know that I'm a big fan of hodgepodge teams, like team ups that shouldn't work. Which is like the Generations Forward stuff, but you get the coolest moments out of them. That's what kind of drew me to the new Suicide Squad book, where I wasn't reading it before because the team looked so weird. But now they dusted the whole team in that first issue, which was awesome. Yeah, it was. I'm even more into it now. But I think that like with such a classic team like the Justice League, where you assume you know how the dynamic is going to work, this really finds a way, and Snyder finds a way to tell these characters in his version to make that shake up again. Kind of we see Barry how we wouldn't assume him to be. We see Arthur in a time in his life when he's not this regal, blonde-haired, blue eyes dude from Maine who's a sailor. You know, they're all so unrefined, and the dynamic was just you have to watch it together. You don't know what it's going to be. I thought that was they found a way to make something that I'm so familiar with, that I've experienced my whole life, to be something new to me, which I thought was awesome. And it felt right. It was new and felt right. Where the Justice Cut was just different, and it felt different. You know, it never actually came together. As I say, this came together like butt cheeks.
I will say, and maybe it's watching all three of these movies back to back like this, but I have developed quite an appreciation for Snyder's dialogue. And I know he doesn't write all of his own scripts. I know dialogue is probably something that's worked on by everybody, but he clearly, as a director and a project manager, recognizes how important that is to the movie itself, because the dialogue in all three of these movies, like it's poetry. The things they say is really solid.
I wonder who he works with, because if you watch any of his stuff, take Dawn of the Dead and put it on the shelf because that's a different genre. But if you watch any of his stuff, that's how he comes at all of his movies, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, like you were saying about the significance of music to his filmmaking. Like, I think that he, like, whenever I make my videos and stuff, like, I go through it in layers. And so I'm like, okay, this layer is telling this story, and this layer is telling this story, and this, you know? And I feel like he's the same way. Like, okay, we have the imagery. Now we layer that with the music. Now we're going to layer the dialogue in a way that works with the music and the layer below that, you know? And then, like, as you stack, every layer has to kind of place itself with each layer below it, you know? And so he definitely seems to look for a nice, poetic, windy way to tie the dialogue and the flow of delivery into something else.
He really did. I do want to ask this real quick, because, you know, going into this, you have people on both sides of the fence that saw the initial design for Snyder's Steppenwolf and were like, oh, he looks this way, he looks that way, he looks nothing like the original, blah, blah, blah. And so here's obviously the new look of Steppenwolf, but here's his first appearance right there. And that's Steppenwolf, how he looked in his first appearance. He looks nothing like that at all anymore. And how do y'all, and with the Snyder cut, with the original Justice League cut, he really didn't seem too menacing. He really didn't seem like too big of a problem. Like when they were fighting, it was more of a nuisance. Like, okay, we'll get him next time kind of thing. To me, in this one, like Alfred did a perfect metaphor. He felt like the charging bull. Like, you got issues. This guy's formidable. So what did y'all think of his new suit design, as well as his threat level in this story?
He was so much more intimidating in this. He was actually a character in this. You know, in the theatrical version, he was so weak sauce. He was just trash. He didn't have any motivation. He was just there. You didn't know why he was there. You didn't know what he wanted with the boxes. He just wanted to put them together, like, and say mother about it. You know, it was
Lego.
Like, we actually got a reason why he was on Earth. We got a reason, you know, why he was doing everything.
Whedon's version reminds me a lot of Whedon's version of Avengers 2, where, like, the bad guy just shows up to do bad things, but, like, you have no reason for why he's there or what he's doing when you're not seeing him.
Yeah.
And this one, like, I still feel, and maybe it's because I watched it at home and, like, I didn't get the theatrical sound experience, but there's a total lack of bass to his voice that still loses some intimidation points. I wish he had, like, a deeper, stronger voice, you know. But overall, I think
that's your fault. I got a good speaker, and it sounded great. You didn't need to upgrade your speakers.
Yeah, I was listening on a nice Samsung soundbar, and
I had headphones, and my headphones sounded really good. I actually thought his sounded better than Darkseid's voice. Well, I've got nice headphones, but
yeah. I watched it with factory TV speakers, so.
Oh no. In stereo.
Yeah, you gotta have at least a subwoofer on the side to get some bass going and stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Dude, it was that whole scene on Themyscira was just, there's just so much more to every little scene. Even the stuff that Whedon used that Snyder shot, there was just so much more to it. You can see where he took stuff out, like the scene in the beginning with the introduction to Wonder Woman when she's stopping the eco-terrorists. Dude, she beasted them. She did not do that in the theatrical cut. She's like chumping people, flying them across rooms, splattering them on walls. Like every little fight scene was completely extended.
We'll go get one.
Talking about people sounding better though, Cyborg. How much better did Cyborg even sound? Like
he was amazing. Had a deeper voice, and dude, they really dove into the dynamic with him and his father perfectly.
Yeah.
Like for them being estranged but having to exist with each other, like all the small little nuances, like and the way they capped it off with his dad like canceling the alarms, like no, it's legit, and they're just looking at each other like
it was like Cyborg was like such a nothing character in the theatrical version, and then in this version, he's like the emotional charge into the ending of the movie. You know, like it's crazy.
Yeah, whenever he yells Superman at the end, that was really cool too.
Yeah, that was cool. And then he came in and helped separate the boxes.
Like,
that was
he says it, it's just like,
yeah, he was there. He was just waiting. Superman's intro fight in this one versus his entire participation in the theatrical cut was just amazing. He's just, for the second attempt, Cyborg's trying to link in with the mother box, and Steppenwolf gets behind him. He pulls up the axe, and he's coming down, and then boom, Superman is there. The axe hits him. He doesn't flinch. Looks at Steppenwolf. Doesn't. I'm not impressed. Freezes the axe. And just swats it. Like, oh my god, let's go.
I loved like the laser punch. It
wasn't stopping.
Whenever so like Superman comes back, right? And he flies up by the sun and he like powers up, and we get to see that terrible CGI silhouette of him. And then it cuts to like Batman and the team, and they're flying in, and it has like this cool like music, almost like the Wonder Woman theme, like it had me amped. I'm like, all right, we're about to go. And then he stops to drop them off, and it just like totally skip like my Walkman hit a bump or something,
My Walkman. Those shots.
It was a weird pacing moment. I'm ready for them to charge in the battle, and he like stops to drop them off, and I'm like, whoa, like what?
All right, kids, say together. I'll be back. Dude, I noticed that he wasn't on some weird suicide mission in this one. Like, and thinking back on it, like how inappropriate was that for Whedon to write that into the theatrical cut, all things considered? To have Batman on a suicide run at the end of a movie, like struck tragically by suicide itself. Like that just hit me. Like that was stupid. Because
I didn't even think of that. That's like a bit of a slap in the face, right?
That's insane. You're going to crap on a script and make your lead character suicidal. That wasn't well thought out.
Was it Tom King writing that script? What's going on?
Must have been. But dude, the fight at the end. Go ahead, Tyler. Go ahead.
The part where his dad is like dying, Cyborg's dad. And I'm like, what is he doing? He's not going to destroy that box. And then they come in and he was like, oh, he was making it hot. Like, why would he do that? I was like, this movie's so fucking good. Like, they just know what they're doing.
Yeah. That little scene earlier, and y'all know that was the Atom, right? He was working side by side with the Atom the whole time.
Yeah.
So we were introduced to the Atom and Martian Manhunter in small points where you can easily bring them into the team.
No, I didn't know that was the Atom.
Yep. That was the second generation Atom.
Of course you didn't know, Tyler.
Oh, the Ryan Ryan Choi guy?
Yeah, that's the Atom.
Cool.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the guy that goes on to work with Brandon Routh.
Ray Palmer.
Ray Palmer. There you go. That guy.
The character's name's Brandon Routh now.
Everyone is Brandon Routh now.
Ralph Boner.
You get to be Brandon Routh, and you get to be Brandon Routh.
Yeah. So the fight at the end, before they get into the tower, when they're actually fighting off the parademons, working their way there, so many different elements to it, so much more going on. In that scene, like Ryan said, the splash page, when they all get together, when they're about to go through the building, and you see the Batmobile's tire shields come down, it lifts up, and then they all hit, and it just gives you that side shot.
Like right before they hit the building, it stops, and just like they all dive across.
ooh, in slow motion.
I mean,
It's like
100% stolen from the beginning of Avengers 2, but
I was
it's
gonna
still
say,
awesome to see.
I felt like it fit in way better. I don't know why. It just felt like it did.
Because they were
Yeah.
all on the same street, going in the same direction, and not scattered through the woods, and all of a sudden just next to each other.
Yeah,
it
all come together.
was a well-earned moment for sure.
And I don't care timeline wise for anything. I'm this movie just saw it now, but I'm placing all of its creative and intellectual properties in the original setting of when it was written. I don't know what was changed or what was added for this event, but I'm still crediting this for coming first. Snyder did it first. He gets all the credit. I think that Justice League would have been out. It did come out before Age of Ultron, didn't it?
No.
Justice League?
I think
No.
so. I think Age of Ultron was
No, because Batman versus Superman was a competitor with Civil War, which was out way after Avengers 2.
Yeah. I don't know when what came out anymore. I just know that the first Avengers came out the same summer that the Dark Knight did, because I threw midnight release parties.
You're cutting up. Didn't catch that last bit.
I just remember that the Dark Knight Rises and Avengers came out in the same summer. Right. After that, I can't keep up with any of them anymore.
So do we want to talk about the epilogue with the Joker and?
Please.
Well, I definitely am just a little bit confused with, like, is this just a separate timeline? Is this the future? Is what's going on? I didn't really care because I loved it, but
hell if I know. But this is something that I was promised answers on whenever we got to this movie, and I still feel like that whole thing is completely unanswered.
For me, it seems obvious that we know that we're getting premonitions. They're not just random nightmares. And it's literally just a teased look. Like, the whole reason they're giving us premonition is just to tease us of what is coming after Darkseid shows up and wipes the floor with everyone. So this is the inevitable future we're going to. And did any of y'all watch Apocalypse War or whatever they called it?
Yeah.
It's that simple. You're just looking at that.
I love that movie.
That's all that it is. So you're just getting premonitions at that. That's all.
Do I have that with me? I don't think I do.
Like, it's just like they're slow teasers.
I got the impression from Batman versus Superman that it was the future. It was the future that happens, and Barry's trying to tell him, like, it was Superman the whole time. So by Superman dying and them teaming up and Martha, now we've changed the future, so that's no longer the future. So then in this movie, that's why I was surprised that stuff was still there, and they're teasing it like a potential future, because I thought they had diverted from that future by having Superman die and come back and, like, make the sacrifice and realize like what it means to be a hero and not go to the wrong side.
Martha was never the future tease that they were pointing at. It was the inevitable point where Lois dies. It's always the inevitable point with Lois, and they teased that briefly in Batman vs Superman and didn't come back to it. Now they
because he does say she was the key.
Then they expanded on it again with this one, when you see him sitting there holding her charred body on him. Like, it's just showing us that we haven't stopped that from happening yet. It is still something that's coming down the pipe. And So I would like to, Justin Ortiz, let us know in the chat, man. What did you not like? What do you feel like they missed out on? We would love to talk about it.
Oh, he said the Joker.
The Joker was cringe. I liked it.
I loved it.
Especially setting in the nightmare world. He's sitting there, like, aesthetically it was awesome. And if we want to get into the conversation, I would love to, because as soon as she said, who have you ever loved or lost or whatever, and then the Joker last, I'm like, oh God, he's about to bring up Robin. Oh my God. And he didn't just bring up Robin. He started with his parents. He started with his parents, then hit his own innocence, and then he brings up Robin. And that was like, you choose your words carefully. You're not being very careful. And then when Batman told him straight up, like, Batman's not even holding back himself. He's like, and he rebutted to him, like, when I was holding as she was dying slowly, she begged to make sure that I killed you slowly or whatever. And you best believe I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm like, oh my God. Ooh.
That part was intense.
I absolutely love Ben Affleck as Batman, and I'm really sad that we won't get more Ben Affleck as Batman. Like, honestly.
I really like him as Batman and Bruce Wayne and Batman versus Superman, but the Snyder Cut, I will say, I wasn't super keen on his Bruce Wayne, but his Batman was still pretty cool.
I'm like just wondering if this will change anything, this movie.
I think it's too late. I think the numbers have already set what is the ultimate end to this.
I think it's too late to change like any of the movies that are coming out, like already coming, you know. But like they might, like I was saying talking to Legion the other week, maybe if this it's hard to gauge how much it's gonna earn and stuff. But if it earns a lot, surely they'll like make a little bit of a Snyderverse type sort of
I would like to see a standalone thing. Like maybe
that's what I was thinking. Like
when you go to do your Green Lantern series, let it whatever you want it to be, just put enough context into it to let it exist inside of this frame.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like if I see anything changing from this, it's him getting more credibility for like running some HBO Max series.
I would love that. I think HBO deserves that because they're the ones. I don't know if y'all read the original article or the statement that came out. The guy who's in charge of marketing for HBO Max, right when he got the job, he got promoted and got the job for marketing entertainment for HBO Max. And he said that this first day on the job, when he came in and fired his computer up for the first time and opened his email, the very first email he saw was a release the Snyder Cut email. And he says every day he would go to work, the first thing he would see, and when he would leave, the last thing he would see would all be released the Snyder Cut stuff from fans and people or wherever. So he went out of his way to start pushing to make this what it is. He got in contact with Zach. Zach was happy to sit down and show him what he had at that point. And he's the one that pushed for this. So I think that even though they're all owned by Big Daddy AT&T, I think HBO deserves this. You know what I mean? Because they're the ones that took the risk. They're the ones that said, let's take some of this money. And we banked on it. We believed in DC. We believed in Zack Snyder. When Stepdaddy Warner Brothers and Big Daddy AT&T didn't, this division did. So they deserve to get to hold these properties. And I'm happy to have full access to them at home as soon as they're released.
I thought we were doing Daddy's Toy Chest.
Daddy's Toy Chest.
We all hated on Snyder so much for making his movies too dark to see, and so he finally, changed it. And this is definitely the brightest we've seen. And honestly, kind of suffers for it because like some of that CGI was already done for the Whedon version and stuff. Like, so there's no way that they rolled it back that far. I think the extra lighting made it look not quite as good on some things. And then also the way that Batman walks around in his suit looks so goofy in this movie sometimes. And I think it's because it's not as dark, there's more lighting and you can see how rubbery it looks now.
You hear that, Ryan? You hear that? Crickets.
I don't care if you agree with me or not.
No, I did. His suit most definitely did look more bulky in this one with his shoulders. His actual mobility did seem a little hindered, but that's something that I honestly expect from a more of a comic accurate Batman. The only other time that we saw a Batman or somebody in like a kind of really accurate comic book depiction of a suit was where it didn't do that was the Christian Bale stuff when it was all plates, And I wasn't like, even though that looked like it was realistic and everything, even though it wasn't very realistic and everything.
I really like the way his suit looked in BVS. Like that was a really cool suit. The way it was gray, and then it looked like they did like a digital layer over it to kind of accentuate certain stuff. It was a cool looking suit. I like that one. And then this one, it's not dark all the time, and so you can kind of see them all like rubber moving around. And then there's some CGI stuff in there that I think probably would have looked better if we could have actually seen less of it, and darker lighting and stuff. Not nearly the Game of Thrones debacle, of course, but a little bit darker helps CGI a lot of times.
That didn't even bother me that much in Game of Thrones, but it still was just that it was bad. That was just bad. Who cares? Fuck Game of Thrones.
Man, that last season really fucked that fandom up.
Yep.
Boom, 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 boom. Martian Manhunter.
Are we missing anything?
What's that all about?
I just so badly want a sequel to this. That's all I want. I just want a sequel to this. I don't care anything else. I don't
Martian
know if it's even
Manhunter,
realistic.
I really liked his, like, when he showed up the first time, and then by the time he showed up at the end, I forgot that he showed up.
Yeah, when you see him silhouetted coming down, you just assume it's Superman at first.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
And I was like, oh yeah, Martian Manhunter's in this movie.
That's what I said. Whenever I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot we were waiting on him to make an appearance. Like, if they forgot about it, it would have been days later on the internet, somebody would point it out, like, oh yeah, where was it?
I think it was just a testament to the rest of the movie, though, like how good it was. You know, I completely forgot that we saw Martian Manhunter, because like that, you know, 6-part and the epilogue were so epic. You know,
That epilogue was its own part.
Yeah. Well, I think that they handled that good because, you know, like with any big movies, you have that long drawn out wind down, and liking it to Lord of the Rings, you know, you kind of see everybody returning home and doing that. They wasn't anything unique about a long epilogue at all. But they just actually identified it because they did it in chapters or parts.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to be a while before we get to the Flashpoint stuff. I don't know what's the whatever date they're shooting for, but I don't feel it's close. I know that I have I'm going to be excited when it gets here, but at the moment I have no desire for the Robert Pattinson Batman movie. I'm sure it's going to be good. It's going to be awesome, but right now I just more so than ever wish this would have been able to continue on in its proper vision.
I would love to see more of this content. I just don't think this is the avenue. I think we're going to see more series-based stuff out of Snyder from here on. Because, I mean, the reality is, like, the guy wants to make epic films. And epic films are, more than ever, they're dying because of the rise of the series, you know? When you can do a 6-episode or an 8-episode or a 9-episode season, like, there's no limits, you know? So where he wanted to make a 4-hour movie, now that's a realistic opportunity. But it's going to be broken up in parts, you know? So
yeah, that's a weird thing.
Snyder, but I think we'll also see it as a series.
You have a lot of you know, there's just always been this kind of thing where there's a separation of film actors and TV actors. You do see like a lot of film actors get their start in TV, and you see a lot of or TV actors get their start in TV and move to film, and then you see people as they get older and they were big film stars, you'll see them start popping up in TV. But it's almost like a level of prestige to be on the silver screen versus the small screen. So seeing like now we have these streaming services and these new format opportunities, I wonder how many of these actors would be willing to step down to the small screen format, since it's such a new kind of angle to approach them with. You know, like you can get all these actors together, film like this, like a movie style, movie production, movie quality, and then just break it down and release it where it's nothing like a TV show. It's just being scheduled like a TV show.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big change that's broken everything down is, you know, you are paid per episode or paid per movie. You get a bigger ticket price on your movie, you know, but your show, it's only guaranteed for so many episodes. We're going to give you 3 episodes, but if during the season it dips, your job is gone, you know? And so, you know, that's why the A-listers stuck to making movies, because it was a bigger guaranteed paycheck.
Yeah, you can guarantee their paycheck and release it like that. But I mean, you're also going to have
now that we have series, you know, like Netflix says, we're going to buy a whole season, so you're guaranteed a whole season's worth of paycheck now. And so that's why A-listers are willing to work in movie or in TV, like in series on streaming platforms, is because it's a guaranteed job. You sign up for a season, you know you're going to get that
viable
season.
Though. It hasn't. Like, wasn't it you that pointed out how Netflix isn't necessarily rolling in the dough?
Yeah, but at the same time, you look at like Disney, the big benefit that Disney has is their movies. And I think that's where Netflix is going to have to figure out something, because what they're doing is we're just going to give you $5 million a year to be available when we need you, you know. And
That's
so
dumb.
if you come in, you might come in and film a few scenes in a series, or, you know, you might show up in a movie or something, you know, but you have all year pay to show up for a network whenever they call you, you know. That's a pretty solid deal too.
I do agree with Justin about the Joker thing. That shouldn't have been put in any trailers at all. I hate trailers in general, though. I hate them.
Yeah. Batman versus Superman. Completely. I don't think I've watched a full trailer of anything since.
I think that Warner Brothers is great about scaring away their audience because they put up these awesome trailers, and then after these initial trailers go, they come in and interfere with the film, and then you go in. Like look at the Suicide Squad. The initial trailers was before they on the movie, before they came. Like you got the initial trailer for Suicide Squad was of what you could call the heirs, like with like all this stuff, and then they came in, took out stuff, reworked the script, changed the entire color tone of the movie, and kind of did like neon light tone to it, which I think looks cool and everything, but it isn't. Again, when you're messing with the director's vision, you're sacrificing the story. That's just what happens. And so when you went and finally saw it, you're like, this is not what they originally started with.
Do you reckon we'll get a Ayer cut now?
Yeah, God, if we got this,
so.
please give me an Ayer cut.
And I'll be honest with you guys, I do enjoy the Suicide Squad movie that came out. I would have loved to see the deleted scenes and stuff, but for just I mean, it's a Suicide Squad. I wouldn't expect an epic out of it. I'd expect kind of like a choppy ragtag movie about a choppy ragtag team. You know, I'm not expecting character development for characters that don't need developing. Like they stuck on Deadshot. That's all you needed to do. Like when it came, he's the only redeemable character on that.
Some of it was a bit
address.
on the nose, though. Like I get what you're saying. You get sticking with one character, but like, you know, this is Katana. Her blade traps the souls of the victims she kills. You don't want to
wouldn't have had to do that.
Like just that line makes me hate Katana.
Which you wouldn't have to do that if they would have kept the scene that they deleted out of you actually seeing how her power set worked, because they deleted that out. That was actually in original trailers and stuff.
I'm way more of a show me, don't tell me, you know. And
so I definitely recognize it for the cringe moments and everything, and I wouldn't put it high on the level of a quality movie. But I'm saying I enjoyed it as a Suicide Squad movie, because I think what you're about to see, especially with James Gunn, is he recognizes that as well, and he's not about to just have those moments. He's about to lay into those moments, and that's how he's going to save a movie that's like that. You can't. Yeah. He's literally making it like a late 1970s men's adventures action movie, like those short paperback. Like go watch the Wild Geese, the old movies like that, or the Dirty Dozen and stuff like that. Like,
I just told Lee about that the other day.
I reckon James Gunn is gonna ruin any chance for David Ayer whatever his name is getting his cut out, because everyone's gonna love.
Yes.
Everyone's gonna love James Gunn's movie and forget about the first Suicide Squad. You know,
just not care anymore. I hope so, in the sense that like that, for the sake of moving forward successfully, you know, like it's gonna be sad for someone like David Ayers, who's a fantastic director and fantastic storyteller, to not get that same opportunity. But you know, he might not be in the same boat that, you know, Zack Snyder is or Richard Donner was, where he really cares at this point. He's done things since then. He's moved on since then.
Well, the thing with David Ayer is like they shot him in the foot and then handed him a bag of cash. We're like, we need a movie. Like they sent him to start filming with no script. They were just filming for 2 weeks with no script, and then they finally got a script and tried to like fit what they had already filmed onto the script at that. Like it was
I didn't know that. That's
process
wild.
out the gate.
I never heard that either. That's fucking crazy.
They shot for like 2 weeks before they even got a script.
That's nuts. Did y'all see his movie
that's why
Fury
you saw
with
those leaks coming from the
and Brad
scene.
Pitt?
Oh yeah,
Fury.
Fury's really good. Fury.
Yeah.
Or what's the
tank movie?
Or the movie
and John
Bright
Bernthal.
Yes, John Bernthal is a
machine.
Dude, he is insane. Like, and I don't know if y'all have him on disc. I watch special features and stuff and deleted scenes, but there's this whole scene with John Bernthal just breaking down, and you really see why he's kind of as off as he is, because he's the only person on that crew who's been there from day one, and just all the
you never seen
level
that
of death.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't.
You never listen to me, Tyler.
What is going on from Belgium? My man Bart. This is my brother from across the pond right there. Dude, hop off here, Bart, ASAP, because we are talking spoilers. But just to let you know, you are in for a treat.
Get out.
You are in for a treat. Be sure to catch it on the rewind, though.
He's in Germany, right? So he's like never gonna get to watch it.
No, they have it. He's got it. It's available to him right now. I was talking to him last night. He's going to wait till Monday. He's got some friends that are coming over. They're going to watch it together. Oh, they're pumped for it.
That's what's up.
So yeah, in as little words as possible, this was better than anyone could have hoped for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To say
I
the
think this
very
definitely
least.
exceeds expectations.
I don't know where my expectations were, but it exceeded it. It could have been like the highest ever, and it would have exceeded it for me. I just can't believe how much I loved it. I can't believe how dialed in I was every second of 4 hours to where I just didn't even know 4 hours went by. And then it got me to cry at the end. Like I was just feeling so many emotions, and
when it hit 4 autumn,
I mean, I just felt emotions even without that. So it's like that just nailed it. I couldn't. It just, God, thinking about it makes me sad.
I caught myself in my shirt, like when the end when Flash did his final big run. Like I caught myself sitting there like this, only because I didn't realize I was doing it. I see a light flash inside of my face. My wife's sitting there taking a picture of me laughing. Like, oh my God.
Dude, that moment.
Where's the photo? I want to see it.
Yeah.
Kyle, send me the photo.
No, right now.
Yeah, I can upload it on StreamYard. Take 2 seconds. Oh, she's crawling to her phone. Babies and stuff. She's fist fighting a 1-year-old now and losing.
Isn't that the worst?
Tyler knows how that feels.
What?
Hey, them toddlers are stronger than they look.
Which one? What? Just send it to me either way. I'll just hold the phone up. I don't need to upload it or none of that.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it again.
It was fun not having depressed Batman dropping bad jokes. Aquaman wasn't dropping bad jokes.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier too about the lasso of truth when he sat on it. How dumb it was.
Oh
yeah. That's amazing.
That could have been me the whole movie.
The whole movie.
See you, Will.
That Flash one was very well scripted.
And then they're just looking at each other through the boom tube or looking at Darkseid.
He don't care. He just don't care.
The boom tubes were cool too.
Mm-hmm. Nothing is a threat to him, and they play that perfectly too. Like you open a boom tube, and he's just standing there, just looking at him. They delivered Steppenwolf's head, thinking they're big and tough, and he just steps on it, crushes it, just looks at him.
So where did the R rating come from?
Oh yeah, that was dumb.
2 F words.
Was that from the head?
2 F words and the added violence. I don't know if you know the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice catches an R rating because it hits the violence level. The eco terrorists in the beginning coming in, shooting up the place, everything. They showed them actually shooting people, and not that you just show people getting shot, but you adding the blood effect to it, because that's one thing that they took out the PG-13 rating. For Batman,
there was a couple of parademons getting impaled on things, and
dude,
there was a couple of
off the Batmobile.
There was a couple of Atlanteans that got like chopped in half.
Mm-hmm. So there's a little Starship Trooper violence going on.
It's hard to see violence anymore. Like, what is things are so violent in PG-13 movies? Like, what is that line? Like we know the two F-bombs, but we
mostly
don't
blood.
know the line of like.
Yeah, but even two F-bombs you can get away with at PG-13 as long as there's no violence.
I think
I think it's the blood.
I think it's 2 now. I think
Is it
it's
2?
Yeah, you can get
It
you can
was
get
one
2
for
if there's
so
no
long.
violence. If there's
maybe
violence in
had-
the movie, you only get 1.
I'm not 100% sure.
And was there 2 or 3? Because I know Cyborg said 1 to Wonder Woman on the street. Batman said 1 to Joker. But I feel like
That's
there
the
was
only 2 I
by the
remember.
eco-terrorists too.
There was
That's all
another
like that
time
caught-
when, like, the
yeah.
last
There's
said shit
the
or
terrorist
something,
said
wasn't it?
fuck.
Yeah,
The terrorist said
Oh,
fuck at
okay.
the beginning of the Wonder Woman scene.
Mm.
I feel like he.
Yeah,
like
the
he
Yeah,
very
but I feel
squeeze
like
those
they
in
left
'cause he
one of
just
those in
wanted-
there.
He just
Yeah.
wanted R-rated for it. I don't know why.
I'm sure they left like 2 of those in there just because they were already catching an R for the violence. So, you know, you
Yeah.
can't until you get to X. There's really nothing stopping you at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
When
I'm
it's
sure if like,
streaming,
the
who
violence
cares
wasn't
anyway?
already putting it over the top, then yeah, they probably would have only kept 1.
Oh, it was awesome. So this movie has got me even more hyped for what's going on currently in DC, knowing that Darkseid is back as the big omniverse threat that they teased in Infinite Frontier. It was good timing.
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna see more like film and TV utilize him now? You think he's gonna be the new Thanos?
No, because I don't really expect this to go anywhere beyond this. I mean, if it does, I'll be absolutely ecstatic and then worried all over again because if it does go past this, are they going to give him the same opportunity to work without his hands tied? Because I have said this so I'm blue in the face. If you let him do what he wants to do without tying his hands, it'll be fantastic. But that's not how it goes. That's not the nature of what making movies is, unfortunately for Zack. This was
He's got that
rare
Netflix
one-off.
show coming out soon, eh?
He has a Netflix movie coming out, which is a follow-up to his Dawn of the Dead, which I'm pumped for just because.
Yeah,
I didn't know
mean,
that.
Series, it's a movie, is it?
My
Yeah, it's a movie.
issue with that though is like Snyder, like what he's doing would be great as a series, but you got to convince him to do a series. Because I have a 6-year-old, and I take her to the bookstore, and she grabs a book that I know would be perfect for her. But as we walk through the store and she sees what her brothers and sisters grab, she goes and grabs a book like theirs and puts hers back. And so we come home and she has a book that she doesn't like because she wants to do something different from what would be likable to her, you know? I feel like Snyder thinks he's like a film guy, and like I see it as a great series. I think he needs to be working on a 6-part series for some of his stuff. I think he has a great mind for it. He's just in the wrong avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I think like if he went and did a 6-part series, HBO could be like, okay, our hands are off of it. You know, you have plenty of time and space to tell your story. You know,
Moving forward, it's such an unknown because this was definitely a proving ground moment for making superhero stuff. You know, because when it comes to the Marvel stuff, it's kind of clutch because they had their own studio. They started with their own studio, and then Granddaddy Disney bought them out, but they already were working in an atmosphere amongst peers. Where with DC, they've been owned by Warner Brothers for so long, and comics weren't so mainstream across the board that they were able just to put out stuff and it was received fine. But now in this current climate, it's not received the same way. So the game changed on them. But having so many failures and then taking their hands off and seeing something that I can almost guarantee, I know this isn't a lot of initial hype and everything, but I can guarantee this is going to be well received across the board. Like the biggest complaint that you'll see out there is, oh, it's so long. Get off yourself, get over it. Like what you want him to make a short movie after all this, or do you want the content that everyone's been wanting? Here it is.
Yeah, I feel
it's in parts. Watch it.
The length only was the length because of the situation. Like if this was made initially, it might have been like 2.5, 2:45. And they definitely would have cut
as
it.
good, and it would have been a choppy movie because that's his Achilles heel. Is when he goes to make a movie, he writes a movie that's so far beyond the parameters that he has to work with, and that's really where he messes up because it causes a choppy movie. But
really, I think he just writes his story. It's like a comic book writer writing a story, and it doesn't matter how many issues it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
However many issues it ends up being, that's what it is. Well, unfortunately,
But that's the problem.
He's limited. Yeah.
He's supposed to be a professional. I don't care how good of a writer Jeff Johns is. If it takes him 2 years to put out 12 issues, that's not a professional, and you do not represent the industry.
Let me give you this comparison, okay? Albert Einstein wore the same clothes every day, and he's supposed to be a professional.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Steve Jobs did the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like you come into work looking like a goober wearing the same clothes every day because that's not your forte. Zack Snyder's forte is not working inside of this thing, and unfortunately for him, it leaves us with lackluster final content. But now that we see what happens when you don't do that, and depending on how well the community responds to this, it really opens up new avenues for HBO Max to do what Disney Plus crapped the bed with Wanda and really push the platform for being a mega house of content instead of just a little add-on for content. Maybe that all of this crap this for these years, it got us to here, and this could be the doorway to the game changer for these streaming services and for us getting content delivered to us in a spectacular way on these platforms. It was all just a means to an end. He's a movie director. He's a photographer. When it comes down to it, he's a visionary that just does not work well when you're making just movies. It really doesn't. I can admit that. Like being a big fan of his, it's lackluster final product. But it might have paid off finally. Him staying on his own path, being what he is, doing what he does, writing a full story is finally probably going to pay off.
Ryan, what did you think of The Irishman?
I haven't watched it. I hear it's very long too, though.
It's fantastic.
I think it's 4 hours, isn't it? Yeah,
I think it's up there.
It's 4 hours or like 3:55.
I don't feel like there's any fat on that movie either.
It's okay.
My food's almost here, so I'm gonna bounce out. And but thanks for letting me come on and chat some stuff. I'm gonna chill in the chat though, and I'll type stuff in the chat and say yes, that was a good part.
See ya.
Yeah, I can tell y'all, like I'm starting to hit this phase where, like, when you drink an energy drink and then some hours go by and you just feel yourself declining. All right, I'm starting to feel that, like this, the initial hype of going into it, watching it, and now like my adrenaline's starting to come down.
I know, I feel the same way. It's like, man, I felt like I had emotions for 4 hours straight, and now I'm like, or more than that, because afterward I was hyped for like a straight hour. Now I'm like, all right, now I can be calm, normal Tyler again.
now it's time to read something.
So how long until y'all go back and watch it?
I'm watching it again today after lunch.
Yeah, I'm watching it today. I'm for sure gonna watch it today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm either gonna watch it today when my wife gets home. We'll watch most of it, or I'm gonna watch it again at work.
I gotta get some sleep first.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna sleep first.
Because I was up all day yesterday. I watched Batman versus Superman from 9 to 3, and then I went, like, as soon as it ended at midnight, I turned it off and laid down, and it took me like 30 minutes to fall asleep, and then like at 1:30 my alarm went off to wake up to watch the Snyder Cut. So I've had all of about an hour of sleep.
Yeah, that's a lot. I'm glad. I mean, I don't really love those movies, so I'm glad I didn't go back and rewatch them. I thought about it, but like, I like Batman, Superman, but not like this. That's for sure.
Man of Steel is really good. I really like.
I love Man of Steel. Yeah, I didn't. Not that one. I love that one.
Batman versus Superman has a Batman problem.
Yeah, I think that was the premise of the movie there, Ryan.
Yes. Yeah, they definitely nailed that one. He was so extraneous in that movie. We could have saved an hour just taking him out.
Justin, what didn't you like?
In what, Batman versus Superman?
No, in the comments, Justin. He said the movie is trash. Snyder scammed us.
Oh, were you just? Yeah, I was talking about. You might have not have been here, but I was saying how I wish Joker wasn't in the trailer. I definitely agree with you on that because that was really dumb. Why couldn't that have been a surprise? That was nothing.
Yeah, even though
I loved it. I loved
the dialogue,
especially knowing that it's unlikely to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, you can list one of them, or I can assume that you're just trolling, man. I mean, I can say that the sky is orange. The sky is orange, but without me having anything to validate that. No, well, not right now. Not here. I can say that Captain Marvel was the best Marvel movie. I can say it all day long, but without any kind of reason to justify it. Y'all have no reason to believe.
You have no way to justify
that. I couldn't agree more. But I can say whatever I want to say without justification. But as somebody who I really look up to has once said, what is it? Miraculous claims require miraculous evidence, or something like that.
That makes sense.
He said Wonder Woman's blade made by literal gods couldn't break Steppenwolf's axe, but Superman's breath could.
That's a semi-valid point.
Yeah.
But then just to rebuttal it, so you can now assume that Superman can break Wonder Woman's sword. There you go. It's the whole point of Superman in this is to show how next level he is. Like Like none of them could touch Steppenwolf, and Superman walks through them. But again, when you put this in the context of what goes beyond this with Darkseid is an even bigger threat even for Superman. Steppenwolf is beyond, and they were having that much problem with him. They needed Superman because he was capable of doing those things. That's why they were willing to bring him back from the dead and risk everything, risk it all. So yes, Superman is capable of doing that. Yes, Superman could do that to Wonder Woman's sword. What is going on, Off-World Adam? So Justin, hit me with your next one. Atlanteans not being able to talk on the water, can't breathe on land, but Aquaman is literally the opposite. Yeah, we actually addressed that earlier on when we kind of all went through like what our number one grievances were. I actually said that mine was the Atlanteans kind of dolphin talking, the fact that they kind of, they gave us the original version of the Justice League movie, so we can see where they've made improvements on stuff when they had the opportunity moving into Aquaman. So that was something that I caught as well. I didn't like that they all had to be in air pockets to communicate. It really just didn't necessarily seem like the most cost-effective way to do that.
Action. It was really annoying because they would like be doing stuff, and then you see motion, and you're like, "Here's the next thing we're gonna hear or see," and then it's like everybody stops so we could open up an air pocket. I was like, "This is annoying."
Yeah.
But I still haven't seen Aquaman, so I don't know how they handled it in that movie.
Oh, they just speak underwater.
Yeah, they just talk. Yeah.
James Wan did a good job with the post working on their voices so that they have a distinct sound when they're speaking underwater, where it's still clear and everything, but you can hear it. And it was it's actually played into the movie where Atlanteans on land have to wear suits, scuba suits, but with water in them, and they look really cool. And they break, and they're suffocating on land instantly. But if you're of royal blood, you're able to breathe in both places. It was really well done, even though I do not believe that was an issue in the comics with them having like to be royal blood to breathe on land or anything. So again, it's just movie elements that have kind of improved, or one way or another. It's kind of an opinion if you like it more or less, but they played it so well in Aquaman that it should be canon.
He said Superman, the Steppenwolf blue eyes.
Yeah, talking about at the end when he
at the end.
So when he got the mother boxes to start synchronizing, I don't know why it did it, but it looked like it kind of charged him up. I mean, it just looked like a cause and effect thing. There wasn't a big.
They didn't explain it, but yeah, I mean, I guess that didn't bother me at all. That's the only thing I didn't care. I thought it was cool, and even if I didn't think it was cool, I didn't care because I loved the movie so much and I was so excited.
Yeah, I'm just assuming that like if you're the one unifying the boxes, I can't imagine that you would be standing in front. We saw what happens when they unify. We watched what happened, and it killed everyone around them. It dusted Superman. It even dusted Superman, and it had to be corrected. So all I can assume, just with the context that they gave us after the fact, because they did do a lot of context after the fact. A good example would be Cyborg's dad sacrificing himself and you not knowing why until after the fact. But seeing Steppenwolf unifying the boxes, and then there's an effect that it had on him, I can only assume the boxes aren't going to kill, being that they're sentient machines. They're not going to kill the person who unifies them. So maybe that was just the boxes doing whatever to him, making it where he's not about to get dusted for unifying them.
Oh, James just said what I said. The music, the score in part 1, that's literally, it was so bad. The girl just screaming, singing. And even that little part where she was singing was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Still like 1,000 out of 10 though.
wasn't my song, and that was just the moment necessarily didn't hit me the way that it might hit some people elsewhere, but
it didn't change my enjoyment of the movie at all. But that part I thought was super weird, and then
you can, in a score wise, you can definitely hear the scores for each character, and they did seem like they weren't just straight up repeating the exact scores. It seemed like a kind of an amalgam of the score.
It was only in part 1. After part 1, that part was completely gone. Like, she didn't scream into the mic anymore.
Saves man, serves zero purpose to the movie. I guess the purpose it serves was to show you what Aquaman does with his time. It just, you got to, they later after that he saved the dude from the sinking ship, they go on to talk about Bruce makes the comment to him about how he just swims around helping people all day. It was part of his argument into getting him to join the team and to not be such a loner, was he's already doing these things. Why not do them on a bigger level? So I guess they were just giving you a chance to see that and not just hear it.
Could Cyborg's dad have pushed the button outside the box? I didn't think he could. I thought he had to go in and do that.
Well, the ray gun was inside of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and he had to
containment.
He had to start it inside of it.
Yeah, the box was inside the containment.
That's what I thought.
It was outside the containment. And I don't know if you caught it, but Steppenwolf was outside of the containment. So if there was a remote switch outside of there, it looks like Steppenwolf might have been in the way of that. So I don't know how much of it you went into with attempting to try to bash it or not, but a lot of these things are kind of all contextually there. The powers from the Trident doesn't make zero sense, because if you watch Aquaman, even, that's a consistency between the movies, because the Tridents play a very important part. If you see him receive his Trident from King Atlan, before he even gets there, the Trident is radiating energy. The Trident serve purposes. The flashbacks that we got in the Justice cut, even, you see Atlan with the Trident putting it down into the machine that sinks Atlantis. Or was that? No, that was in Aquaman. When you see the flashbacks of Atlantis doing good, the Trident holds power. All the Tridents hold power. Like, it's not just a sign of your status. So they've addressed that in multiple movies where the Tridents actually hold power and serve purposes, as do the individuals. I just pointed that one out. Yeah, it does. It sank Atlantis itself.
I thought it did too. But
yeah,
I've only seen Aquaman 2 times though. So like, I haven't seen it a bunch.
When they're showing the flashbacks of Atlantis, how it was a great civilization, and them pushing their technology, and this great energy source was its own ruin, and them taking the Trident and putting it down into the machine that they were using it to power the machine. And when it was too powerful, it popped and it sank Atlantis, but it also gave them the ability to breathe on the water. It's what kind of pushed them forward. That's not the same Trident. And this Trident that he had is his mother's Trident, that obviously isn't that powerful, or it might be, we don't know. But the fact is, the Tridents do hold power. They have purposes. So this Trident, we saw that he's able to, it just has a limited amount of energy in it. When he stopped the water underneath the bay, he wasn't manipulating the water. He was holding that blue energy in front of it. It's his mom's Trident. So I guess that's just the power set that his mom's Trident had. Atlan's Trident was clearly a lot more powerful. But all I'm pointing out is there's no inconsistencies at all with the Tridents having a weapon aspect to them other than pokey pokey. Aquaman was definitely better in the new version. Absolutely better. That was the biggest improvements made moving forward from this, and that's hands down no disagreement there. But I think you find a lot of the character development in that new one. There are going to be a little bit of inconsistencies story wise at this point. Now there's a lot more Mira and him interacting, but Yeah, I did like that in the nightmare scene in the future at the end there, Mira's not holding Arthur's mom's trident. She's holding Atlan's trident. So it's obviously on the other side of the Aquaman movie at that point. But because of the nature of this movie and the way that it was made and filmed and being put back into place, there's going to be definite things that have changed or were updated. And because when they made Aquaman, James Wan did speak with Zack Snyder, and at the time they probably didn't intend to make this movie, so they probably took liberties. And he probably said, if I could do it this way, or James Wan said, I'd like to change this, and why not? It's his movie at that point.
It's interesting to see what other people think, like what bothers them, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
None of that stuff bothered me, even like in the slightest. Even after you guys pointed out, it doesn't bother me. It's like a lot of the stuff, the prequel stuff in Star Wars bothers people, but that doesn't bother me. But like the entirety of the last Star Wars movie, Episode 9 or whatever, I don't even know what it's called, Rise of Skywalker, that whole movie bothers me in like every way. I think it's awful. So
he also ran out of his shoes when he was going to save Iris. He also wasn't wearing his suit. I think that Bruce Wayne makes a comment when he first meets him and starts breaking down the suit and why it serves a purpose. So it's just the level in which he's running, the amount of attention he's paying to what he's doing, as well as the suit. But I guess that's another one that you just have to, if you want to try to look at it that way without looking at the reasons, it would look like an inconsistency. But again, the level of care that he's taking and what he's doing. When Iris first wrecked, he had not a care in the world. He took off instantly. When he got to Iris, though, he slammed on the brakes, rippling the street, but then took his time to meticulously make sure he did not harm her when he was touching her and moving her. He was being so gentle. So it's where his attention is lying. It's just showing you kind of the level of which, kind of the power set that he has and how much it can affect things or what it can do. But at the same time, he's able to, the speed. I don't know if you read Heroes in Crisis. It shows you what happens when you don't pay attention to the Speed Force and what it can do. It can literally kill people around you unintentionally. But yeah, there's a lot of attention that went into that. Mark, we need you to review a Whack Comics video as seriously as you review movies and comic books. Tyler will pay you. We spoke about it earlier, so it'll be sweet. I feel like you guys already paid me with that awesome 24-hour live stream y'all did that I was able to be a part of. I'm forever in y'all's debt. Y'all doing that amazing event and actually raising, what did it end at? Like almost $1,800?
No, it's $1,640, I think, is what it ended at.
Well, $1,640 is almost 18, so almost $1,800 that went to charity to the Starlight Foundation. Yeah. And what happened to Zeus? Why are they letting the world burn? When did they let the world burn? Zeus, and they're called the old gods for a reason. They're the old gods. If you read DC Comics, those gods have been forgotten, basically. That's why you have characters like Darkseid, like Highfather, that are called the new gods, which this is the first cover appearance of Darkseid. There's the first appearance of them up there. But if you want to get into the pantheon of gods, like the Amazons and stuff, those gods are still around. They do not control things anymore. I don't know if you know how much about the nature of the gods in the DC Comics, but they're just not relevant to the world like they used to be. So they don't play that part anymore. Much like in the real world, if there's this amazing interview that New Guy just did with this comic creator on a book called Adam and Eternity, and there's a scene in that book where the main character is like a god level character who just comes into existence and has to discover who he is before he can discover what to do with the universe. But there's a scene in that book where he stops by like this cosmic bar, basically, where all the gods of old are just hanging out. Because like, what does a god do when they're no longer a god? In our world, in the real world, Thor's no longer a god. Loki's no longer a god. Odin's no longer a god. Zeus, Ares, Jupiter, those gods have been forgotten. And we as individuals in today in real society worship different gods, if any at all. So just like that concept, put it into DC Comics, except they put new gods that are in there and they're not as friendly or as worshipable.
You have to let me know when you're getting those different color shirts so I can get one.
They didn't show us what Steppenwolf did to be banished because they told us what he did to be banished in a conversation with Desaad. So a lot of these dude, I watched this movie with I'm a huge DC fanboy. I'm a huge Zack Snyder fanboy. I watched this movie with a fine-tooth comb, and that was in the first conversation he had when he summoned Assad, when he asked to have conversation with Darkseid, and Steppenwolf was denied because of the reason why he got banished, which I'll ask you to go back and check it out, because I feel like there's a lot of this movie that you did not necessarily catch. So instead of me spoiling it, go back and watch it. But he basically ran a coup. He attempted a coup on Darkseid early on. You know, he was wanting to be big and bad, and it didn't work out. He gets banished, and he gets tasked with conquering 100,000 worlds before he even gets concession with Darkseid. And yeah, I think he's Darkseid's uncle. Then he gets banished because he's part of the old guard. Darkseid is the young gun that came in and took the mantle from the ones that were before him, and Steppenwolf was part of the ones before him. So it's just a power struggle difference between the two of them.
I personally don't think it makes any difference whether it like in terms of storytelling. Why do we need to know why he was banished? Like, he was banished. That was a long time ago. This is part of the story.
I agree 100% with Justin. I'm glad that they addressed it. I'm glad that they didn't spend forever on it, diving into it, because it isn't necessary. You know that he's been banished for running a coup. You know that he desperately wants back because his plan failed, and you know that he's willing to do anything to come back, and that's what matters. That's what matters. But they did address it. It was in the very first conversation that he had with anybody.
I remember from Apocalypse. But I guess I'm just saying I don't even care. It doesn't make any difference to the story, because he's got to repay Darkseid. Like, we know that. I don't care why.
And when it all comes down to it, like, it's probably all for naught anyways, because he's not the forgiving type. You can come home, but you're going to get thrown right into the dungeon, and you're going to be handed to Granny Goodness, and we'll see how it goes.
I didn't think. I don't even know if there was a random scene. Maybe the most random scene was him saving Iris, because it didn't really have a whole lot to do with the plot. But besides that, I think everything was plot driven.
Yeah, I think that was just simply intended for our introduction to Barry. You get to see how quirky he is. You get to see him trying to get
I still like
jobs. Yeah.
I didn't want it out of the movie. I just if I'm gonna pick a random scene, and I don't even think it meant like this was intended.
Random scene. Oh God, I don't know.
I can't think of a random scene.
Dude, everything made sense in that. Like, when I first watched it, going through it the first time, when you see Lois go to Superman's memorial, she picks up all the coffee. She's walking through the rain. She goes and hands the police officers a coffee, and they're like, "Oh, you don't miss a day, do you?" I'm like, "Okay, cool, we get it. She's mourning." They brought that back. Mm-hmm. They didn't go seek out Lois to bring her to be the big gun. She goes there every day. That's part of her schedule. That's part of her routine. And thank God, because he was about to kill Superman or kill Batman. I thought Darkseid was handled perfectly as a big tease, but they gave us enough of him that it didn't feel like just a waste to even pretend like he was in the movie. Steppenwolf was the villain they were facing. The inevitability of Darkseid coming is still there, so it left us on the hook. It left us hanging. They gave us the awesome nightmare scene with him in it, just watching him decimate. They gave us him with the Omega beams. All this stuff, they could have chumped us off and saved for an actual appearance of him, but that's not guaranteed to get him back in the future. So they gave it to us in this. They handled him perfectly. You had Granny Goodness and Desaad at his side like you're supposed to. You have Desaad being conniving and crappy and just eager beaver on his heels, and like him just standing there, not even flinching when he's looking at all of Earth's warriors, stepping on Steppenwolf's head, not caring. That he was perfect. He was absolutely perfect. All I can say is I can't wait to the day that if it happens, we get to see the full-on Darkseid war go down. Martian Manhunter made 0 cents. LOL. That scene was random, just to get her to do a coffee run. It wasn't to get her to do a coffee run. It was to get her out of depression because, Martian Manhunter clearly has been monitoring Superman and everyone else since Man of Steel. He's been monitoring this closely. It didn't seem random at all. He's pretty much been the man behind the curtain watching all of this.
I didn't think the CGI was bad personally, but
I will tell you this right now: the CGI for the scene when he shapeshifted out of Martha was definitely not nearly as refined as the CGI at the very end.
Yeah, I was talking about the end, I guess.
Yeah, it was definitely forgivable. Like, I'm I'm not watching this through the lens of a CGI.
Yeah, I do not care
criticism.
about the CGI. This is like a movie that shouldn't exist. So
Yeah.
we're talking about them like touching up stuff and adding stuff that shouldn't even be there. So CGI, but I mean, if it bothers you, that's fine. I didn't care. None of it was bad enough to me either that I was like, wow, look at that. I'm out of the movie now. None of it was that bad.
I think it was the perfect scene to introduce Martian Manhunter simply because of the conversation that was had between Martian Manhunter and Lois, unbeknownst to Lois, where she kind of like just like reveals her feelings on a level to Martian Manhunter, unbeknownst to her. That kind of gives him a window into what's going on more deeply because again, he's just been the ultimate watcher through all of this. So it just shows you.
Yeah,
it gives you a perfect
technically, we've
example
already
of
been
how
introduced to him in Man of Steel, right?
Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. And in Batman vs Superman, there is a lot in the Ultimate Cut of Manhunter or not. We don't know when it is and when it isn't, but potentially a lot of Manhunter and Lois. So he already is highly involved in Lois's life. And if you watch Batman vs Superman, the Ultimate Cut, he puts his career on the line to go around his superiors and the government to provide Lois with information to get the ball rolling. So he's not new to helping out Lois. He's not new to caring about Lois. That's an existing concept that's been addressed a couple of times now. So again, not necessarily hating on it. I think Martian Manhunter going to Lois is actually the perfect place if you're going to try to put any weight on the fact that he's not just Martha, but he's the general. So love the head step. The head step. Are you referring to Martian Manhunter's head?
Oh, there. You're in your right spot now.
I would have loved to have a lantern. I don't think we talked about it yet, but Kilowog was in the movie. So of course in the flashback war we did get more cuts of the first Green Lantern. I guess I saw something where it was supposed to be identified as the first Green Lantern of 2814, which is a space sector which Earth falls under, Hal's jurisdiction, John Stewart's and all that. But when they showed us the second glimpse into the nightmare scene, when the camera was panning up, there's dead Kilowog in the rubble. I'm like, that's awesome. I would have loved to see more Green Lantern. I would have been absolutely off the rails with it, but kind of going off what Ryan said, I think that's when you would actually start getting me to the point with thinking y'all put more into this movie than you had to. Not necessarily made it bad, but adding an actual Green Lantern story plot is not necessary in this situation. They already introduced us to Martian Manhunter and the Atom in sub characters without throwing them into the story. We didn't need them added in the story, just allowing us to know they're there. That's how you set up future stuff without having to waste a lot of time on future stuff.
Yeah, I think it's also important to look at like the situation versus like what would be standard. In standard filmmaking, I agree that Martian Manhunter bit would have like been not great.
Overkill.
But yeah, but when you're at the point here, like I highly doubt we're going to get any deleted scenes out of this because what's there going to be like?
I don't think they exist.
Yeah, I mean, like they threw everything at that. So yeah, Martian Manhunter being introduced right there was kind of weird if you looked at it from like a filmmaking perspective. But whatever you look at the situation, it's like if it's on film, just put it there because why not? Like that would have been an after credit stinger if the movie was supposed to lead to something else. But they literally just tack it into the end because they know this is our last shot to get it seen.
I don't understand how the little spider that projects your memories is inconsistent at all. These people are traveling through space and time in boom tubes. The movie takes place around 3 boxes that are sentient machines that are so advanced they look like magic to people. So I don't see how something as simple as just a thought projector is anywhere in the realm of over the top.
And I mean, granted, I have no experience here, so I may be way out of realm, but I assumed that was like Snyder's version of a Starro or something.
I was thinking the same thing the first time it came over him, but no, that's definitely not Starro. I'm one of those weird people that I love seeing Starro and everything. I'm a huge fan of Jarro, the good guy one that became Batman's ward for the Scott Snyder run on Justice League. It was amazing. But Starro is supposed to be the big problem that the Suicide Squad is facing in James Gunn's movie, and that excites me.
I didn't know that.
There's set photos that you can see like some of the main cast member in the foreground, but you see like just extras, military people, mercenaries, whatever they are, in the background laying on the ground, and they're very far in the background, but they have the purple stars on their face.
That's interesting.
Let's see what we got next. No sorrow when Darkseid stepped on the chopped off head of Step. No, he didn't care. That's what I was saying. It didn't matter what Steppenwolf did. I doubt he would have ever forgiven him. If he allowed him back, it would have just been to torture him because that's what he does.
Oh yeah, my take on it was like Darkseid's kind of annoyed because that plan failed. So I don't have my solution yet. I have to try again. But in no way was it connected to any connection to Steppenwolf.
No, I just feel like Steppenwolf had no other than cosmetically, it was literally the same in both films. Zack did nothing with him. I actually feel vastly different because in the theatrical cut, he was just like Lee or Tyler said, he's just
ugly dude,
just a goofy dude trying to squeeze boxes together. You had no backstory or reason to anything he was doing, and you gotta think how simple of a concept we're dealing with to begin with. Invasion. We're dealing with invasion, simply invasion and domination. If you go back and watch any kind of story that's about an army coming to conquer, there's really not much to it other than dominance. And that's what you have here. You have somebody who identifies himself in the story, and it's talked about that he's not just doing it for dominance, but he's trying to accomplish dominance to justify himself with his big boss. He's fiending for home. He's like 50,000 worlds in right now, and he's only halfway there. He's trying to validate himself to his boss. You didn't get none of that in the last one. Like, he wasn't even banished in the theatrical cut when I don't know, there was so much more to it in this one.
Yeah, but what did he change visually? Because I don't remember. I only saw Justice League like once in theaters.
Yeah, in the theatrical cut, Steppenwolf was he looked pretty comic accurate, other than like in style, not original. Like I showed you his first appearance, he didn't look like that. But in current stuff, like in the Tom Taylor's Earth 2, Steppenwolf typically is just a dude-looking character and just kind of like some generic-looking battle garb with a helmet with horns on it. So what Snyder did was he made aliens look alien, I guess.
Yeah.
They look like little T's.
More alien garb too, like you said.
Mm-hmm. And the suit made perfect sense. If the mother box is going to be like an example and source of their technology, why would you assume for their suits to look cloth? That makes zero sense in this world.
Yeah, I mean, I was indifferent. Visually, I thought he had like plenty of character development for a villain, especially like an alien villain. You really don't see any kind of, backstory or character development. They generally only get a backstory that's really dove into if they're a human bad guy, So I thought it was cool that he was like this weird alien creature that actually had something going on besides just being the bad guy.
Ryan, can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me find it. All right, there's him. That's actually him. This picture right here is him from Tom Taylor's run on Earth 2. So you see how that's just kind of a generic look for him. It has been for years. Here's him in the theatrical cut.
Oh yeah.
So they changed him massively, and they took him back.
He looks like a Star Wars villain. Like, give him some white paint on his face and a cloak to kind of darken the edges, and that's a Star Wars villain. Make sure he looks like an old guy.
Here's a good shot of what he looked like when he came down the boom tube from Themyscira. Here we go. That's low res on the left, but there's huge difference, and that wasn't even final product right there. But it was changed. And if you watch the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman, you just watch that cut. So at the end, when Lex was in the Genesis chamber, sitting there with the Helix, like doing the 3D projection, like he was talking with Steppenwolf, that's what he looked like. So it was weird going into the theatrical Steppenwolf. Yeah, there he is in the end of Batman vs Superman, the ultimate cut. That's from the actual movie. So they kind of took him back to what he was originally intended to be when Snyder set it up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What What'd you think of
You can
Darkseid?
contradict yourself and say these are ultimate beings that control mother boxes. I didn't say they were ultimate beings, etc. But yet Steppenwolf can even block a punch from Aquaman. Makes zero sense. Where is the fight intellect? I don't know if I completely understand the context of your question.
He's an ultimate being, but he can block a punch from Aquaman.
Well, I think he was an ultimate being. I think you say he can't even block a punch.
So he's an ultimate being that can get punched by Aquaman.
I think he dusted Aquaman. Remember, Aquaman came in strong, and then Steppenwolf with his 7 fingers just grabbed his fist, dusted him. He dusted everybody. And again, Steppenwolf is even just a peon when it comes to Darkseid. Let's see. Why are they so supreme, but he's so primal in his fighting ways? He fought like a crash dummy bull, but yet control mother boxes. Makes zero sense. You don't control mother boxes. The mother boxes control themselves. It's not like he's manipulating them or getting them to do this or that.
He's just a collector, man.
Yeah, he's just
there to find the boxes and put them all together.
The boxes are sentient. You don't
the long boxes.
Like to put in a concept, Justin. If you went and got 3 mother boxes, you can put them together. You don't have to have vast knowledge of them. Steppenwolf is a warrior through and through. And I don't know if you watch him get shot with arrows, shot with guns, hit with this, hit with that. He doesn't need to fight anyway, but confidently. He's on what he describes as a primitive backworld. You know what I mean? He didn't expect the Kryptonian to show up. It's that simple. That's why they were there.
Yep.
I don't know if I've ever actually had the chance to talk to you, Justin, before, but I'm honestly want to say thank you for actually engaging with us, because I do love actually, I don't take any offense in people having different opinions of myself, and I actually had to tell Lee, who was on there with this earlier, I had to tell him I'm sorry yesterday, and if I'm bothering him, just tell me to get lost when I was messaging with him, because I love to deep dive on this stuff, man, all day.
Mm-hmm.
And I admittedly have watched tons of these movies over and over again, and not just that. I mean, I've eat, slept, and read these comics pretty much my whole life. So I have a lot of context that is just kind of subconscious. So it's easy for me to pick up on some stuff especially with someone like Zack Snyder, who kind of writes coming from a place of experience. He's not really writing and making movies for first timers. There's a lot to be said to the good and bad with that. For me, I enjoy it more. That was one of my gripes with WandaVision. It was done very well. It was done great. But for somebody who's read countless Wanda stories, I went into it already knowing the situation we're in, so I had no big reveals. But watching my 13-year-old daughter watch it, watching her light up like a Christmas tree and her mind being blown by all these little things, I'm like, okay, they did really good. Whenever I have a bad opinion about a Marvel movie, all I have to do is watch it with my daughter. And it's not just like I don't hate Marvel movies at all. I enjoy the hell out of them, but I'm just kind of left not as impressed with certain things. But they're really writing to a new audience and letting the audience learn with them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Snyder does not do that normally.
Yeah, I'll be interested to watch this with my wife for sure, just because she doesn't read anything or know a whole lot. So I'm gonna see what she thinks.
They also answered that when Cyborg was telling his origin story. His dad didn't know that it would save him. He just knew that he was the one. His dad was the one that discovered that whatever this is, it holds an infinite to them known power source, and there is a potential to it. But his dad was the one that was discovering the possibilities of this thing, and his dad absolutely took a reckless gamble on it.
Yeah, he knew he was going to die, so he just tried.
And talking about turning it on, how did Flash turn it on? What did he do? Just give it a little boost.
Yeah, he charged it up.
You shock it. So that's exactly what Silas did. Silas isn't an idiot. Silas is a freaking genius. And that's all. You saw him shock it awake. And it isn't like he shocked it awake to sustain it forever. It obviously went right back to sleep. But giving it just an initial pop to do. I think some of them are hit or miss. I'm not necessarily a big fan of the cookie cutter format that they kind of turned into. Like after enough of them come out, you kind of see the pattern in which they're making them, and they're not necessarily too impressive. They're still really fun though. I still really enjoy seeing my superheroes on the big screen.
Yeah.
And,
other than Captain Marvel, I'll
anything.
watch all of them more than once. Oh, and
That's
Thor: The Dark World. That's a tough
That
watch.
I didn't even think about this until you just asked that.
What's that? The best DC movie you've seen?
Well, I
Are
mean,
we
it's
excluding
always
the one that we're still hyped on with the Snyder Cut? Or are we talking
it's always
DC?
been Dark Knight for me.
For me, it's always been the original Superman the movie. That's yet to be changed. I
Oh,
watched
we're
that.
going all universe. Good Lord.
That's why I'm asking if he wants to specify. Like I'm gonna put Superman 1 and 2 ahead of any of the other ones. But I grew up on. I was so young at an age when I first saw them that I wasn't hindered by the time difference and when they were made in my actual age. When I think Superman, I don't care how many times I see Henry Cavill knock it out of the park. It's still Christopher Reeve. I agree Watchmen over Batman vs Superman. I agree Watchmen over the theatrical cut of Justice League. Man of Steel and the Snyder Cut. I'm a little biased when it comes to Superman, so I would put those really close together. I'd have to put a lot of thought into it. And as far as the Snyder Cut, I really don't even want to try to put an honest opinion out there because right now I would tell you that this movie just shit on it as it existed. I'm so hyped still. It's just the initial hype hasn't worn off.
Yeah, I really need to see it again for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear what people think after they watched it a second time and kind of like cooled off, you know?
Yeah, it really took me. Watchmen is like what got me into comics, one of the main things. So like Watchmen's definitely better than Batman vs Superman. Man of Steel,
Man of Steel is a really solid
I love
movie.
Man
like
of Steel.
I just watched it 2 days
Watchmen.
ago. It's really solid.
It is. It's good.
You have to go with this is the Superman that Snyder has created within this universe and like on point, you know, but it's a solid movie. Well done.
If I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Watchmen just for the like world and the end. I really like the messages in Watchmen over Man of Steel. But there's so many in Man of Steel too, so that's real nitpicky. I love them both, honestly.
I mean, if you're just talking about Snyder's little trilogy here, like I think Man of Steel is my favorite of the three.
It's so rewatchable.
It like DCEU movies. Now that's I think Man of Steel would still be in the top 3, but I mean that first Wonder Woman movie is really good.
Yeah, I don't think I have a third. It would be this Man of Steel, this and Man of Steel. I don't think I have it. I like Wonder Woman, but
you got
to
think about not having thirds.
Even so, yeah, I mean Wonder Woman would be my third. I've never really been into Wonder Woman.
Now I'm going to be completely.
But that first movie is pretty solid.
Which one do I think is the best versus which one would I just put on to rewatch over and over? It would be Aquaman is the most rewatchable one because the pacing, the style, the tone. Like the movies are made for different styles, which kind of like you can gauge which one you think is a better example of film versus which one do you have more fun watching. Like if you're just trying to have fun watching a movie, Aquaman is the best DC movie they've made. It is it's the most well-rounded one that they've done for just throwing on, letting it be background stuff. Just visually, it's gorgeous. And that's a lot of people will agree with you, Justin, on that. And he's not Flash. A lot
Ezra
of people
Miller is trash.
We talked about it earlier on. This
trash Flash.
I think that he's definitely a completely standalone version of Barry that's unique to these movies.
Yeah, like
and
even
you can like it or not like it, but it's not meant to be. He's not trying to create.
I mean, just
Barry
like this Superman, like
just like Aquaman too.
Yeah.
Like, look at Aquaman.
But even taking Ezra Miller as like whatever version of the Flash he wants to be on his own, like trash. Don't like the guy. I did not find it endearing. It mostly annoyed me the whole time. I would recast him. or them, I think actually.
I think everyone's getting recast anyway. Most likely, this was it. This was our moment to enjoy this movie because we're probably not getting it anymore.
Yeah,
I will say I liked Ray Fisher slightly.
Oh my god!
Oh, I liked him way more in this than I did the first. The first one is like, oh, I don't even know who he is. Like, okay,
well,
there's Cyborg,
I'm still just not into like the cyborg thing. Like, I don't know. He felt like the weirdest part of this movie. Him and Flash. Like, you could have got rid of them two and just had the other four, and I would have been much more sold.
Yeah, I thought that Ezra Miller was.
All Aquaman has to do is go short blonde, and he's comic accurate.
No, not at all. And I talked about that before, but the way that they play is very reminiscent to the early '90s Peter David run of Aquaman, which was very short lived, and they lean a lot more heavy into almost like and it makes sense when you look at it from like the Snyder perspective. Like if you have an aquatic based character, doesn't it make sense for him to kind of be an islander in nature?
Yeah.
And I know he's from Maine, but him and his dad are clearly islanders that are living in Maine. They're not native to Maine. So I thought that was a cool aspect to take it. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but he most definitely is in attitude and style very reminiscent of Peter David's run on Aquaman when he lost his son, when he had his hand eaten off, and he came back with that Aquaman issue 0. And they even mirrored that cover in the final fight in the Aquaman movie when Arthur gets thrown back toward the propeller and he kind of just throws his arms out and he's squatted down and he looks up. That was kind of almost like a shot for the issue 0 cover, but it was a wave behind him on that cover. And I love when they do that, when they put covers in movies for split seconds.
I don't
really
know
cool.
specifically about Barry, but if they just did like cookie cutter of all these characters and put them into a movie, would it really work on screen? I don't know if it would work that well.
Not
Like
necessarily.
I like these different characters, at least slightly different characters, all working together in this Snyder universe. I
It
think
gives
it
you the
works really
chance
well.
gives you a chance to get introduced to them and like I just mentioned with the Wanda and stuff, when I'm so familiar with the source material, it can take away from it at times. But and we talked about this early on in this stream when they kind of went at these characters from a unique angle that isn't necessarily 100% comic accurate. It gives me a chance to discover who they are and what, you know what I'm saying, instead of going in there, okay, I know all this already, and just kind of watching something that I'm familiar with play out.
No, I agree. I mean, I think these universes, like these cinema universes, should exist with their own characters in them, because you get stuff like Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark in an original way, you know, and people didn't like that character. He made him likable, you know, and the reality is there is a real world aspect to making these movies and stuff. To find somebody that looks exactly like this and can act exactly like this to be 100% comic accurate is not going to happen. So you're better off just like doing something original. Yeah. Just do original stuff.
The feel of Whedon's movie just felt awful. So
yeah.
I can, even if they chop this down to 2:30, I would think this would be much better.
All I can say is look at the theatrical cut of Justice League and look at the theatrical cut of Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman still was a better job than the theatrical cut of Justice League with the bad editing and everything. The theatrical cut of Justice League just it just fell apart on so many levels.
Well, that one felt like such a paycheck. It felt like they gave Whedon a ton of money to show up and get a movie in their theater, and he did literally that with like no care as to how he got that movie into that theater, you know?
Yeah, I almost feel
it
like
might not
to
have been
a big
his
degree
fault.
that I don't think a lot of it was, but I think a big degree of what came out of the movie, like when you look at everything that was written down in the direction the story was supposed to go, he kind of took out the elements that would have beat Avengers to the punch with the whole Flashpoint, with the time traveling, with the good guys losing. You know, that was definitely introduced before they got into all that in the big screen with the Avengers stuff, because it was introduced in the nightmare scenes already. So it kind of like he's like, well, let's go ahead and shelf all this. It's about to be getting done over here, and I'm familiar with that about to be happening. So we don't need to double down on it. I don't think he did it for malice or anything, but we won't need this.
Yeah, but I could also see a situation where Warner Brothers literally bought his name, because whenever you have somebody as big as Snyder leave your project, that shook the faith in the fan base as to what we were going to get. And so bringing in a name that was associated with successful comic book movies, even if he didn't touch anything and they just gave him a fat check to put his name on it so people would turn out to watch it, might be the case. That might be why it's so garbage.
Yeah.
Like, here's an NDA and $30 million. Now, don't tell anybody that you didn't actually do any work.
Yeah, it's a funny NDA.
Yeah, I can never I can't blame Whedon for anything because we don't know. It's just like the current Batman book. Like, what is Tinian? We know Tinian's a good writer. What is his fault? I'm gonna guess not a lot. and then look at this first Joker book. I loved it. I don't know.
It was fantastic.
But just comparing it directly to Batman, even if you didn't like it, like it's way fucking better.
Well, it was the same storytelling, except for Joker actually got it right and gave us a reason to move through this story. Batman 106 was like, we're just kind of floating through the air and like all these things are happening in Gotham, but we don't really know why we're even able to see all these different perspectives. And with Joker, he did the exact same thing, except for he's like, and you're walking down the street with Commissioner Gordon. And so like you pick up all of this passive storytelling as you move through. And it's embarrassing how bad Batman is. I don't understand what the problem is. Like, surely they're saying, like, you need to write a 5-story arc, and he's writing something. I
don't know why this is that everyone gravitates toward the Batman title. The far superior storytelling is for a long time happens in Detective Comics. It's good comics.
Yeah, I've said that since like 950. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm. And now we get what is it? Mariko and Dan Mora are starting Detective Comics up here in a week or two.
Yeah, the 24th, I think.
So I mean, I was beyond happy with the Thomasy run on it. Like it was just just comics. It was no weird trying to push a story to kind of I don't know. I think a lot of it is just false hype story pushing. You know, there's not really this large grand scale story being told, but it's being talked about like there's supposed to be, and there's normally not. And like, if you just want good, consistent stories about Batman, kind of like how Urban Legends was, there's just good, consistent stories with no overall event that they're running toward. That's Detective Comics. Just go enjoy Batman. Fantastic.
I would love to have seen Tinian's Joker War if it was just like a 6-issue mini, and that was the end. And it didn't have continuity. It just what's your story?
The Black Label Joker War.
Yep,
that would have been fired. So more photos for Batman Reptilian have surfaced, and a Bill Sienkiewicz cover is being shown with Batman being choked out by Killer Croc. So I don't think we're getting introduced to a brand new rogue. It's going to be like we mentioned, how maybe they're going to tell the story of Batman encountering Killer Croc for the first time, who, if that's the time that they're going to write a story about, this will be a new rogue to Batman.
I just read that it's a Batman Killer Croc story with a new villain. I just read that.
So with a new villain also?
Yeah, but I don't know if he'll be like issue 1, but there's supposed to be a new villain.
Yeah.
Whoever that is.
Honestly, it feels a lot like the whole Shazam situation, where they're just letting like ridiculous stuff fly off the press so that it like stirs up some controversy. Because everybody's tired of new Batman characters. Same thing with Shazam. Like they let that hit the press.
I can tell you one person who's not tired of new Batman characters at all.
Spec collectors.
Tynan himself. Miracle Molly, here we come.
Yeah.
I'm tired of that too. Like, I mean, I don't mind new characters, but we're at this point where all we get is like Joker and Joker side characters and then new characters, and they all like come along and then get mishandled and disappear.
I think they crapped the bed with the designer. That was such a good lead-in.
See, I didn't even read that one, but everybody was talking about it for a while, and then I never heard his name again.
Yeah, it's like this ultimate villain who's been orchestrating all the villains for years in Gotham for like a huge means to an end, and then they just end up not really exploring it. Tynan
exploring.
Tynan steps in and jumps on it,
to say the least.
Wow.
Tynan steps in and pretty much canceled the story moving forward, and just killed it so he could start doing whatever it is he's doing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So he could start doing not amazing stories.
Not amazing. Yeah.
I mean, he's capable.
Surely they told him, like, hey, you have 5 issues and there's going to be a 2-month break, and you would think he would write to that and be like, all right, well, I got 5 issues to set some stuff up so people want to come back in February and start reading again. and then he just didn't.
Oh, if first appearances weren't such a thing, maybe it wouldn't be such a big deal, because it probably wouldn't be. I don't mind new characters when the story matters, because any good story, usually there's probably going to be at least a new character. Maybe not all the time. Just give me a good story. I don't give a shit who's in it. You can give me 20 new characters, or 1 or 0 or whatever. Just a good story. That's it. Or maybe a new character that doesn't really matter. Is that crazy or what? Just a regular ass character that we see a couple times, and maybe they matter a little bit. And
what would make that great is if they die, like Ghostmaker. They could just straight kill Ghostmaker, and I'd be a lot happier. Like, he slipped on his own sword.
I kind of mentioned that, how I feel like they're kind of abandoning that character so that they can just knock him off, because he hasn't been over the board well received. He's kind of split here and there, with the majority of people not really caring for him from what I've seen. And just like he did with the designer, we've hit this point where everything built up about the story, they're just abandoning the whole like mystique behind him. And is he blind? Is he not? Why is he covering his face? They're just showing his face, all blasé. The fact that they let us know he wears parachute pants on and off the job, I feel like is a big factor in his upcoming death.
There was so much good anticipation around that character, and then about like 103, like 102, 103, that's when like everybody started to realize like, oh yeah, this character is going nowhere. And even the people that said that they still like those last 3 issues, listen to how much they talked about them after they read them. Like none at all. Ghostmaker was like a part of conversation for weeks at a time whenever like 101 and 102 came out. And then like 103 came out and everybody talked about him for like a day. And then since then, nobody really carries on conversation about him.
Yep.
Ryan, I just got a direct message from somebody on Instagram that said, awesome job with the Miranda Brothers interview, y'all.
Awesome. Must be somebody from the South. Y'all.
Boy, they didn't say y'all. I didn't word their whole message. I just shrank it down.
Yeah, that was a great interview. We Live is definitely one of my favorites of the year.
Absolutely.
So far. Easily.
The other day, what's his name? Steve had posted like he had like retweeted like a post your background or whatever, your wallpaper. And so I had posted that and he's like tweeted back like, who's that? Or what's that?
Steve?
Burke. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he read We Live.
He didn't, because he tweeted back like, he was like, who's that? What's that from? You know? And I was like, that's from We Live, dude. Like, I keep telling you to read it.
Yeah.
He was like, what? Because it's just Hatoto.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I was like, that's Hatoto from We Live. And he was like, what? I was like, man, the amount of people that said like that's not really my genre, or I'm not interested in those types of comics.
Dude, we had somebody directly tell us, I'm not gonna like it. I like superhero comics.
You told me that.
Well, you should have stuck in for the 5th one, yeah.
Oh my god.
I love that the writer and artist laughed too when you said that. That was fucking hilarious.
And I mean, that was like, that conversation was like, what, 2 days before the final issue dropped, and we were like, yeah, I guess I could kind of see what you mean, you know? And then that final issue dropped and we read it, we were just like, oh crap, like they were way off base.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, now we're gonna have We Live 2, whatever. Is it gonna be called We Live 2?
I believe that we're gonna be getting a season 2. But I believe we're gonna be getting a one shot. Look how off days go.
Hey,
I believe we're going to be getting a one shot about Humbo first.
Humbo.
We're going to be getting to dive into how he survived that with Alice, what he's been doing for, what was it, a 3-year jump or a 2-year jump that we see him walking up to the city?
Something like that, yeah.
Looking grown up.
18 months or something, yeah. Sweet. So he's like about a year and a half older or something like that. But that'll be awesome, and then we'll come back for season 2, and that's going to be awesome. And a season 3. I really didn't think that they were going to tell us they had it planned that far out.
Yeah, that was really cool. We got some like official announcements on that interview. Yeah. That was really cool. And I got I picked up a whole run
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to be giving away with the 600 subscriber giveaway.
Oh, sweet.
It's going to be included in it.
That 5th cover I like too. All the white.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really cool cover, and then I like the first one and the second print of the first one.
Yeah, you're the one that again put me on that one when we were in the interview, and you mentioned to them how you didn't realize how much the color. It's 3 years later, how much the coloring went into the details and stuff because you never saw the satellite until you looked at the second print. So you said that, right? And when you said that, I grabbed my book, the first print at the time, and I started looking for the satellite. And I could never find it, even knowing that there's a satellite there.
Yeah.
And then I went and got in the second and third print. I'm like, dude, it's right there.
Yeah, like it sticks out. Yeah.
You know, I went back and looked at the first one. I'm like, how did I miss it? It was like the perfect Where's Waldo scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool.
But it is now 10. Well, go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, so we're 2 hours and 15 minutes into our first ever 24-hour live stream. If anyone has any top 10s you want us to do.
Yeah. I'm about to hop off here and probably start getting my day started.
Right.
I'm normally off on Fridays, so I'm going to go to my LCS today.
I have to decide what I'm going to do at this point.
You should probably get in that amazingly gorgeous bed you have back there and go to sleep.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Panda just commented in the Burke fan chat. Show them your fear. We have no fear. That was awesome.
How did you pull this off, Tyler?
What do you mean?
Did you just stay up all night, or did you take a nap before?
No, I work nights, man.
Oh, okay.
I watched it at work.
Oh man, lucky.
Yeah. I'm just I usually go to bed around like 9, so I'm just like an hour and a half later than normal. But that's really not a big deal. Sometimes I'll go to bed at like noon if I'm just awake for no reason.
You work tonight?
Yeah, I work tonight.
Well, I'm not going to keep you much longer. I will say I got some Slavages back. As you can see, yellow label from the Alex Ross Gallery.
Fancy.
I'm excited to show those off. I'll post those in a video.
I wonder who signed them.
It'll be next week. That is a good question. You know, Alex Ross doesn't write everything he works on. Yeah, I'm about to hop off here and get these kids together, go do something. Probably take them somewhere. Let my wife go to sleep. She looks tired.
That's nice.
She's a trooper, man. Look, where she works, it's messed up by heavy weather because they have like a storm drainage or a retention pond that always overflows over their entrance if it rains hard. So they canceled work and told people to just work from home today. So it worked out perfect because she was planning on getting up with me to watch it at 3 a.m., watching it, then going to work. But they canceled coming into work. So it worked out great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's real convenient. That's good timing right there.
It was. But yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all hopping on. Hope y'all have a good day. And I'm Mark, but we are Legion.